All right, guys, I'm back, and I would like to formally welcome the 61 participants right now that we have on Zoom. I hope that you're doing fine this afternoon. I hope you already ate lunch or, ate or merienda. And also, I would like to take this opportunity to again to thank our sponsors because this program will not be possible without them. So, J-Mart. So you can follow them at J-Mart Korean and Japanese store on Instagram. Princess Status by Queen Raegan. So you can follow them at Princess Status underscore on Instagram for the coffee, tapioca, and other sweet treats. Please follow Celine Treats at CelineTreatsPH or at Selena Beatrice. For cookies, for the best cookies in the Philippines, you can follow at AfterBake.PH. And lastly, Tuk Chak, home of the authentic Thai milk tea and desserts. You can follow them at Tuk Chak PH on Instagram. So guys, sit back, relax, and enjoy while we're waiting for the other participants.
And aside from that, via good news sa lahat ng ating participants, may paayuda ang Chatuk Chak. So sa lahat ng attendees ng webinar, you will all receive a 20 pesos off on your CTC order. For the instructions, you will receive it through your registered email. And please also do not forget to follow our PangPangs. We have Ian Pangilinan at Ian Pangilinan underscore and for Paolo Pangilinan at PauPangs. And we also would like to thank our partners as well. Please do follow them on their social media, Metro Manila Pride at mmpride.org, Pantay Pinas at Pantay Pinas. We also have our other official fan club. We have Gaya Sa Payaso at Gaya Sa Payaso underscore, Gegemons Official at The Umbrella Fam, Raegan Burnside Official at Queen Raegan OFC, Ikay Portillo Official at Ikay Portillo OFC. We also would like to shout out BP.PH for helping us promote this event at Boys Love PHP. And also, please do not forget to subscribe on our YouTube channel and social media accounts at BL Frogs.
Alright, so habang tumatagal Ninong Map, dumadami ang ating participants. And guess what? We have already 87 participants on live on Zoom right now. Oh my gosh, medyo na-excite ako sa program natin tonight because I know it's very interesting. It's a very interesting topic, Ninong Map. And I hope a lot of you will, learn something about SOGIE.
Yes, and aside from that, guys, aside from learning something, you would be also receiving a 20 pesos off from our sponsor, ChatuChak.PH. So please do not forget to follow them on Instagram at ChatuChak.PH. And the 20 pesos off will be sent to your registered email. And guys, marami rin tayong prizes na ipamimigay at the end of the webinar. So, make sure intayin nyo yun sa dulo ng program. And please, if you will post something on social media, do not forget to use the hashtag #GCanaba PPO.
And also, Ninong Mavs, we would like to reiterate the attendance form for the participants of this webinar who are willing to educate themselves about the sexual orientation and gender identity expression equality bill, also known as the anti-discrimination bill. Now, guys, we've sent the Google link or the Google Docs form on the chat box. You can now go ahead and fill out the form so that we can mark your attendance.
Ayan, nasa 105 na tayo. So again guys, welcome to Gika na ba, a SOGIE webinar by PangPang Official. So sit back and relax lang tayo muna habang nag-aantay tayo. Ayan, so hello everyone and good afternoon. We will start our program.
So ayan, Ninong Mavs, we're already at 120 participants. Now to kickstart the event again, good evening. My name is Via, a proud transgender. My pronouns are she and her, and I will be one of your hosts for tonight.
And ayan, so hello sa lahat ng clowns, sa mga pang-pang stands, and also my ever favorite, ang mga ka-bullfrogs namin. My name is Mav and welcome to Pang-Pang Officials.
G ka na ba?
Let's talk about SOGIE.
Alright, Ninong Mavs, how are you? Kamusta ka? I missed you.
Ayan, okay naman ako. So, syempre gusto rin natin i-check ang ating mga participants.
Yeah, so bago natin tawagin ang ating unang speaker, kamustahin muna natin ang ating mga participants. Now guys, to show the love and support for the program, you can go ahead and use the heart reaction on your Zoom right now. So go ahead and tap the heart reaction, guys, so that we can feel the love and support that you have for the LGBT community.
Ayan, so marami nang nag-heart. So ayan, tapos marami din tayo nagme-message sa chat box. So hello sa inyong lahat. So ayan, nandiyan ang aking mga Bullfrogs friend na si Joshi at si Tito Ampol and si Rico. Hello sa inyo. And ayan, so ang mga pang-pang fans din nandyan. So again guys, if you are excited for tonight, just use the heart reaction button on your Zoom.
Or press 1.
Yan, press 1. Ayan. So, mukhang ready na at excited ang lahat pag-usapan ang SOGIE. So, to officially start our webinar, may we call on the head admin of PangPang Official, Presh Bugayong, for the opening remarks.
Hello everyone, I'm Fresh Bugayong po of PangPang Official, and to our esteemed speakers, Ms. Thais Estrada and Mr. Vince Liban, welcome po sa ating webinar. To our partners and sponsors, and to everyone who is here today, good afternoon. In the recent days, four LGBTQIA plus persons who went missing were found dead in Cavite. Just last year, Jennifer Lauda's murderer, Joseph Scott Pemberton, was granted absolute pardon by this administration. These two events are just a glimpse of the injustices committed against our siblings in the community. The passage of the SOGIE Equality Bill, or the Anti-Discrimination Bill, is long overdue. Cases of discrimination, bullying, and harassment remain underreported and invisible in our laws and policies. This does not only leave the members of the community vulnerable to harassment, but it also fuels stigma and homophobia in our society. This is the reason why we deem it important to conduct this webinar. Understanding both what SOGIE is and what SOGIE Equality Bill entails is a step forward towards the right direction. In an era where disinformation has been continuously weaponized and push forth different propaganda. PPO believes that arming people with the right information and fostering an environment that is open and safe is relevant in the battle towards equality. We are one with you in this fight. Ang laban na ito ay para kina Carl at Vlad at sa kanilang malayang pagmamahalan. Ang laban na ito ay para kay Jennifer Laude at sa Cavite 4 upang makamit nila ang hostisya na nararapat para sa kanila. Ang laban na ito ay para sa mga batang bakla, lesbiana at transgender upang maranasan nila maging malaya sa kanilang pagkatao nang walang bahid ng takot. At huli, ang laban na ito ay para sa pantay-pantay na karapatan at malayang pagmamahalan, anuman ang iyong kasarian. Muli, maraming salamat at ilaban natin ang malayang pag-ibig at pagkakapantay-pantay.
Ayan, maraming salamat. Thank you so much sa napakagandang opening remarks mula sa aming head, the ever beautiful Miss Fresh Bugayo. At alam mo, Ninong, nakakatuwa talaga at nakakataba ng puso, no? Kasi a fan club like this doesn't only focus on their idols, but also they do webinars like this. So I'm really proud that I'm part of PPO.
Yes, correct ka dyan, Mama Via. And I can say that I am proud to be a part of PangPang Official as well. Kasi di ba normally, ang iniisip na ibang tao, ang ginagawa lang natin, nagdedelulu or we just support our idols. And yun, so projects lang nila. But here in PangPang OFC, this is a different group because as part of the community, we do believe that we should also be doing our part to educate.
At tama ka dyan, Ninong Mav. And I can still recall that last year we had our very first and successful HIV webinar,
Yes.
which we had around 100 and plus participants. And we were joined by some of the well-known HIV advocates as speakers. Now, Ninong Mav, it's time we're going to check how many participants do we have. And grabe, Ninong, we're at 155 participants right now.
Ayan. So, hello again sa lahat ng 155 participants. Maraming salamat po sa pag-attend ng SOGIE webinar na ito. So, before we start and before we call on our first speaker, I would just like to remind everyone that if you guys have questions during the talk, you may send them on the Zoom chat box and we will give you the chance to ask your questions to our speakers during our open forum segment towards the end of the speaker's talk.
Yeah, so guys, don't forget to send in your questions. Kaya naman, huwag na nating patagalin pa. Here to discuss a short course on SOGIE 101. She's a proud trans woman and an advocate for the LGBT community, a speaker in various sex and gender-related fora. Her advocacy focuses on proper LGBT representation in the media, transgender issues, and passage of the SOGIE Equality Bill. She is currently a trustee of the Metro Manila Pride, the organizers of the biggest Pride March in Asia. Not only that, she works as a creative director for a local boutique ad agency called THTF and is also a freelance writer, PR, and marketing professional. Now, she worked for 6 years in the tech industry as part of the local YouTube office. Prior to that, she was a marketing director for a local milk tea chain that helped usher the milk tea craze here in the Philippines. She studied linguistics in the University of the Philippines, Diliman, and originally from Bukidnon, she now lives in BGC with her brother and beloved pet dog, Shiro. Now let's all give her a warm welcome, the ever-glowing, the ever-beautiful Miss Thais Estrada. Hi, Miss Thais.
Hi, everyone. Hi, Dia. Where is your co-host? Hindi ko na makita. Ayun.
Hi, Thais. Welcome.
Hi. Hi, Dia and Maverick. Yes, welcome, everyone. Thank you so much for inviting me. I hope my audio is loud enough for you guys to hear. Medyo wild yung background ko kasi nasa labas ako ng cafe dito sa Makati. I'm not at home, but nakapag-set up naman ako sa aking small space dito sa cafe na to. Hi everyone in the chat. Shout out ko lang ang aking background bago ang lahat. Siya si Bernie Sanders during the inauguration. So Sir Bernie, para sa'yo to. Charot. Okay, so are we happy to start our short SOGIE talk?
Yes, I guess we can
Ready
go ahead.
ba? Are we all good?
Yes,
Yeah, we're
let's
all
do
good.
Any
this.
Okay. All right. So I will ask short activity lang for everyone. So I just want to know, read the room, kung ano yung understanding, gaano kataas yung understanding natin sa SOGIE, no? So can you react on your Zoom reacts? Thumbs up if you have some idea about SOGIE, at least some idea. Thumbs up, thumbs up, thumbs up, some idea. Okay. All right. Okay. How about those who have no idea at all? Can you react with a open mouth, yung surprise na emoji? Can I see? Okay, meron a handful have open mouth emojis. Okay. All right. So most of you guys have an idea what SOGIE is. And I'm happy that is the case because your favorite show, Gaya Sa Pelikula, has worked hard to make sure that at least during the run of the show, people understand what SOGIE is, not only during the show, but also its affiliate shows. Like the one that I was featured in, Just Ally Things, we uh, discussed heavily on how allies understand SOGIE. Okay? So, because here we're going to take you through the basics of SOGIE, medyo ano tayo, balik tayo, take a step back, and like really understand what SOGIE is, at least the meaning of the acronym, and then what's behind it, and kung anong issues beyond understanding SOGIE. Are we all okay? Can I see thumbs up? Can I see thumbs up, everyone? Are we ready to hear it? Okay. All right. Dito lang ako manghingi ng reactions, guys. Because later, I know I'm going to be able to answer your questions. You're going to ask questions. So just react to me with your emojis. Okay. So let's start. What you're seeing on the screen is the gingerbread person. A gingerbread person is one of those visual aids that we use to explain what SOGIE is, so that you can see a visual representation of what we mean by SOGIE. So let's start. Sexual SOGIE means SO, sexual orientation. Okay, and GI in SOGIE means gender identity, and then GE is gender expression. So as you can see, SOGIE is basically sexual orientation, gender identity, and expression. Okay. But before we go on to a discussion on the genderbread person, I would just like to say an intro on why we're going to discuss this. So I think what I need for people who do not have an idea what SOGIE is, uh, you have to first understand this basic concept. Okay? So here's the basic concept. Human sexuality is diverse. Napaka-broad, malawak ang human sexuality. In reality, alam naman natin siguro to because of Gaya sa Pelikula, sexual attraction can and will happen, might happen, yes, between people of same gender or opposite gender. Same sexual orientation or different sexual orientation. And we do not always fit in the gender roles and identities that are expected of us. Kailan nyo ba unang nalaman na babae kayo? Or kailan nyo ba unang nalaman na lalaki kayo? Mas malala, na kailan nyo unang nalaman na bakla kayo o tomboy kayo? Or bisexual, pansexual? So, you hark back on that memory. some of us, it's very real. Alam natin kung kailan tayo na-realize na part ako ng LGBTQ. But rarely do we ask people, kailan mo nalaman na naging straight ka? Or straight ka? Diba? Kasi, yun ang status quo. Yun yung alam natin. That's what we know. Immediately, binigay kasi sa atin yun. Wala pa tayong muwang, sinabihan na tayo kung ano tayo. But, LGBTQIA persons have to self-determine beyond what is considered normal. We have to self-determine. Okay, so let's go. First of all, sexual, ilagay niyo sa mindset niyo ngayon, the human sexuality is diverse. How diverse? Okay, let's go to our gender-bent person. Okay, so let's start with biological sex. Yun yung sinasabi ko sa inyong norm. Saan ba nanggagaling ang idea na ano ang normal na babae o lalaki? Unang-una, pagkapanganak nyo. Diba? So pagkapanganak ni, for example, ako, ni Thais, nakita ng doktor na meron akong male genitals. So he assigned me na ang gender ko ay male. So I was born a male. Biologically, truly, I am male. Diba? Kasi yun yung sexual and biological characteristics ko. But, hanggang dun lang yun. Biological sex is only this. Ang biological self, kung ano ang aking sex organ, if you analyze it or kung marirealize siya kung ano siya, it's like being in a container. The body, the biological sex, is your container. So ano yung nasa loob ng container? That is your sexual orientation and gender identity. It's different from your biological sex. Okay? I'll say that again. Biological sex is different from your sexual orientation and gender identity. And that's what you see in the gender-bent person. So after biological sex, you have gender identity and your attraction. So let's go to gender identity first. Okay, so if we say that my biological sex is my container, what fills the container is my gender identity. How or what I identify as. So si Thais, nung lumaki-laki na siya, ang kanyang gender identity, nung bata pa siya, nung hindi pa niya alam kung anong kanyang, kung hindi pa siya nag-self-determine, ang inassign sa kanya na gender identity is male. So lumaki si Thais na batang lalaki. Sa society, yung identity niya ganon. Kasi inassign sa kanya. Tinanggap to ni Thais kasi inassign siya ng status quo. Alam niya na ganito ang pagtanggap sa kanya ng society, ito ang normal. Pero, nung nag-self-determine si Thais, lumaki-laki na siya siguro nasa anong edad ako noon. In my late teen years, siguro mga 18, 19, ganun. 17, 18, 19, ganun mga edad. Nasa college age na ako. May course sa UP about human sexuality. Doon nabuksan ang aking isip sa possibility na baka hindi nagma-match ang aking assigned gender sa aking biological sex. Doon ako nagtanong-tanong, doon ako nag-isip-isip, and then na-realize ko, oo nga, no? Magsa-self-determine ako. Napagtanto ko sa sarili ko na ang aking gender identity doesn't match my biological sex. At may pangalan pala yun. Hindi lang pala yun bakla. Hindi lang pala ako maingay na bakla. Hindi lang pala ako feminine, hyper-feminine na bakla. Ako pala ay isang transgender. So doon ko naintindihan kung ano ang aking gender identity. Nag-self-determine ako kung ano ako. Kung ano yung content ng aking container. How about the other content in the container? That is your sexual orientation. So sexual orientation just pertains basically to what you're attracted to sexually or romantically. And even sex and romance is different. They're separate. Okay? So independent of your gender identity, nakalagay ka na sa container, no, yung gender identity. Another content, kung ano ipapasok mo dun sa container mo, is your sexual orientation. And that's when we say you're lesbian, you're gay, you're bisexual, you are pansexual, demisexual, or asexual. What do those terms mean? Let's just go over the LGBTQIA acronym. No? L refers to lesbians, which are women who can be transgender or cisgender. Okay, so I've introduced one more term. Cisgender women are those women whose gender identity matches their biological sex. So their container matches their content. So that's your cisgender person. So a lesbian can be transgender or cisgender, but has sexual or romantic relations with other transgender or cisgender women. The reverse is for gay individuals. That's what you call a transgender male or a cisgender male who has sexual or romantic and gender males. How about bisexual? So bisexual are those persons who can either or transgender man or transgender woman, cisgender woman. Between being pan comes with the idea that there is no binary gender. Walang female lang at male lang. There are a lot of possibilities to gender. And they can have sexual or romantic relations with all of them. And then, so LGBT, okay, so LGB deals with sexuality. T, okay, nahulog ang aking earpod. Okay, so T deals with gender. So being transgender is, again, my own experience. My content doesn't match my container. My biological sex doesn't match my gender identity. Hello, guys. Can you still hear me?
Yes po.
Okay, para tumirek. Anyway, so, ayun. So, hindi nagmamatch. I mean, sorry, hindi nagmamatch. So, kaya ako transgender. Then, Q refers to being queer. And that's an English term to encompass the experience of being not straight. Okay? So, it's a broad term for gender identity and sexual orientation to mean that you are not straight. How about I? So I is another gender, actually sex characteristic. It's nearer to gender, but it's beyond it. So I refers to our intersex brothers and sisters. Being intersex means you have male and female characteristics. It doesn't necessarily mean that hermaphrodite, dalawa yung expressed physical na biological sex markers, which is your penis and your vagina. It could also be chemical and your hormonal composition. You can be intersex without having two different sexual organs. And And then A refers to asexual, hindi ally ha. Ang LGBTQIA, ang A sa LGBTQIA, hindi ally. It's asexual. So it refers again back to sexuality. Ito yung mga do not feel any sexual attraction, or there are levels to their sexual attraction or romantic attraction. Okay. Was that a bit clear or medyo mabilis tayo? Nasundan niyo pa ba ako? Raise your thumbs on the reaction. Okay, good. Good, good. Anyway, you can ask questions whenever after our open forum, okay? I mean during our open forum. All right, let's move forward. So that's LGBTQIA for you. How about your gender expression? So when I told you guys about biological sex being your container, and then the content is your gender identity and sexual orientation, your gender expression is your decoration in the container. So kung ano yung nakadecorate, how you express yourself outwardly and into the world. It doesn't matter. Ito again, these concepts, three concepts are independent of each other. There is no need to match your sexual orientation to your gender identity and to your gender expression. Your gender expression can be traditionally male, traditionally female, a mix of both, or a complete rejection of the binary gender expression. Kebs ka. I don't care. I'm gonna wear what I wanna wear. I'm gonna put some makeup. I don't care. I'm not bound to anything. Or I will perform, or I will put on a gender expression that matches a female identity, a female sexual orientation. A sexual orientation that is matched to my female identity, or male identity. Diba? So that's why we see women, transgender or cisgender, who wear the clothes of men. Actually, yung very recent lang yung ability ng babae na makapagsuot ng pants. Dati, nung time ng mga monarchs, bawal na bawal magsuot ng pantalon ang mga babae. They're really just reserved for the males. Because there's no use for pants for women then. Wala naman silang activity na kailangan na magpantalon. Until they realized they wanted to ride horses. Or it was just easier to wear pants. Another case is high heels. The shoes. High heels were exclusive of the monarchy. But eventually, naging pangbabae ang high heels. So then again, you can see how arbitrary our choices are of gender expression. At some point, men wore makeup more than women. So why now na parang weird na may lalaki nag-makeup? The general point here is, and I guess what I'm trying to make, is that sa sobrang pagka-diverse ng ating sexual orientation, gender identity, and gender expression, why is it such a huge deal with others? Maybe because, number one, society tells us that we can only be one or another. It's what we call the gender binary. Dalawa lang talaga ang possible. Umalis ka dyan, weirdo ka. Or worse, in some societies, bawal ka, at dahil bawal ka, kailangan kang mawala. So that's the reason why there's violence against people of diverse SOGIE. There's violence that is committed against queer people only because you are different from what they know. Now, let's expand our discussion on SOGIE. Okay, a little bit. Okay, so when you're going to talk about SOGIE, kasi alam ko, feeling ko may mga gusto kayong educated. The reason why you're here is because you wanna also, tell this to other people. How easy would it be, or how hard is it gonna be to explain this to other people? So one easy way, aside from the container content analogy, is to start SOGIE discussions. Okay, wait. Start SOGIE discussions always with the idea that it's a diverse, that human sexuality is diverse. Number one yun. Kailangan mo talagang buksan yung isip nila na hindi dalawa lang ang human sexuality at gender. It's diverse. Then you start talking about SOGIE itself, kung ano yung nasa acronyms. So what's an easy way to talk about SOGIE? So another easy analogy for SOGIE is, when you talk about sexual orientation, imagine a bedroom. Imagine a bedroom. In the bedroom, your sexual orientation is who you sleep with. Sino ang kasex mo? Sino ang karelasyon mo sa loob ng kwarto? Your gender identity is kung sino ka. Who you sleep as sa kwarto. So, balik tayo. Sexual orientation is sino ang kasex mo. Who you sleep with sa kwarto. Gender identity is who you sleep as. Ano ka? Anong identity mo pag nasa loob ka ng kwarto? Gender expression is what you wear when you go to sleep. So, that's one way to illustrate SOGIE for people who do not necessarily know what SOGIE is. All right. So, I think the last part of what I'm going to discuss is, if you go on advanced studies on SOGIE, marami kayong madi-discover na ano ba naman to, ang daming label pa lang. Ang dami pa lang, there's too many to take in. And ang daming terms, ang daming politics behind it. But I guess before we go on to our open forum, there's just one thing I'm going to tell you guys, and I hope that is your key takeaway for this session. To be honest, and I've studied SOGIE for a long time, there is no 100%, walang taong 100% na nakakaintindi ng SOGIE. So let me repeat that. There's no 100%, no person 100% na alam yung SOGIE. Okay? One can be an expert, one can really know about it, but not 100%. Because it is so diverse. Every single person on earth living will have some sort of difference in their SOGIE. Okay? But here's the thing. You can 100% respect someone's SOGIE. If you cannot understand SOGIE 100%, but you can 100% respect it. So that's my main message. That's how open you should be able to understand the complexity of SOGIE. If you start with that kind of mindset, respect, kindness, and love, then you have meaningful discussions on what SOGIE is. Thank you very much for listening to the short explanation.
Ayan, thank you so much, Thais. Again, maraming salamat. So, marami kaming natutunan. Even if it's quick, definitely marami kaming natutunan dun sa discussion mo. Dia?
All right. Again, thank you so much, Miss Thais, for the wonderful, discussion about SOGIE. Now, I really learned a lot about it. Now, we'll go ahead and formally open the question and answer portion. Now, we'll go ahead and call your name. So once your name is called, please unmute and ask your question. Now, first person that we will go ahead and call on would be Gigi Casey. Gigi, are you there? If you're there, please, pakigalaw naman ang baso.
Po? Sorry, bakit po?
Again, we saw earlier sa chat that you posted a question for Miss Thais.
Oh.
What's your question, Gigi?
Oh, my question po is, what is the difference between being bisexual and pansexual?
Thank you, Gigi. Good question. So bisexual just means your understanding of what gender is. Okay, so a lot or there are people whose understanding of gender, because ito yung status quo, no? There are only two. Yun yung nasa status quo. There are only two genders, and that's being male and being female. Being bisexual is being able to have sexual relations and attraction to either male or female. Being pansexual, um, hindi niya kinoconsider yung binary ng gender. A pansexual accepts all forms of possible genders, known or unknown. So, malay natin kung may pang-sampung gender pa. Diba? So, wala siyang pakialam doon. What matters to a pansexual is their attraction or sexual attraction or romantic attraction to any. Okay? So, dun mo lang ililimit yung understanding, dun mo lang i-anime understanding ng pansexual bisexual. So, parang, kung bakit pa ako magba-bisexual kung understood ko na yung pansexuality? So, sometimes, you have to be definite. Diba? Some people aren't attracted to diversities in female gender. Some are not attracted to other diversity, so other forms of being diverse ng gender. If that's the case, then they're limited to the gender binary, which is male or female. Completely okay. Being pansexual, hindi siya like mas mataas or mas mababa sa bisexuality. It just means they're more open, even to expressions of gender. So, for example, I have a friend who's transgender, no? And transgender woman, and she, kasi diba parang pwede yung SOGIE mo is transgender woman ka, but you only exclusively have sexual and romantic relationships with men, either transgender men or cisgender men. So yung attraction niya is straight. I'm sorry, yung sexual orientation is straight. So she's a transgender woman who is heterosexual. Diba? So, pero along the way, na-realize niya na it doesn't matter pala. Okay ako magmahal at makipag-sex sa gay guy. Well, I don't care if straight siya or gay man. I can have attraction with him, sexual attraction and romantic attraction. Na-realize niya at that point na pansexual na siya. Whatever variation will not matter. So that's the answer to your question. Sorry, napahaba.
Ayan, thank you so much. Yeah, thank you so much, Thais. For the next question, may we call on Kate Valmoria. Yan,
Good
pwede ka na
evening
po
po.
mag-unmute.
Apo. Ano po, how can we explain SOGIE po to children?
Good question. You know what, Kate? Sometimes children are easier to educate than adults because for the most part, when you say something to children, because you're a person of authority, they will take it as fact. So that's how important it is that discussions around sex and gender happen early. But here's the thing, Kate. Talk to them in a language that they can understand. Yun yung laging um, dapat ginagawa pag nakikipag-usap sa bata, pag sensitive ang topic. You will not immediately say, SOGIE, genderbread men, etc., kung wala nga silang concept ng gender yet. How are you gonna talk about it when it is a 5-year-old child versus if nagtanong na sila ng 3 years old sila or a little bit older, 10, or puberty age? You will have to tailor fit your explanation to how they understand the world. So open up, like for I'm gonna give you an example. Did you know that sexuality becomes human sexuality, nagiging aware ang mga bata niyan very early. Once they are around 3 years old, 4 years old, they will start playing with their sex organs. They will be very interested in what kind of thing is this? What do I have between my legs? Kasi yun yung isa sa mga pinakahuli nilang na-realize eh. Kasi when you're an infant, what is stimulated is your mouth. Because you breastfeed and you eat. The next that gets stimulated is your eyes. Because lumilinaw yung mata mo, hindi na lang mommy ang nakikita mo, but also other people around you. The next that gets stimulated are your ears and, well, I guess smell, kasunod na, magkasunod. So then you finally have a sense of the world na lahat ng senses mo gumagalaw. The next thing, when you have an idea of what the world is, alam mo na yung 5 senses mo, ang susunod mo titingnan is what's between your legs. What the hell is this for? So if I'm somebody who has who needs to talk to a child about their sexuality and their gender, I'm gonna start with the biological function of what's between their legs. And sometimes, hanggang dun, okay na yun. And you have to be very honest when you deal with these kinds of questions. Call it what it is. Huwag mong sabihin na si Pututoy at si Temtem or si Cupcake or si Lollipop or si Hotdog. Tawagin mo siya sa pangalan na tinatawag natin ang biological organ. Okay? So call it a penis, call it a pite, call it a vagina, ano bang Tagalog? Sorry, Bisaya ako. Sex? Is that even colloquial? Diba? So, ganun mo dapat pinapaintindi. But eventually, when they're a lot older, you can then explain identity to them. Pag meron na din silang sense of their identity. So, unti-unti. There should be levels, but yes, you can explain SOGIE to children. And my own personal belief, it should happen a lot earlier. Because, again, children accept concepts better and faster than adults. Okay, next.
Ayan, thank you so much for that question. Actually, Thais, I agree with you that let's normalize teaching children very early para natututo na kagad sila. Ayan, so Via, sinong next natin?
All right. So up next is Sedi. So Sedi, if you're there, pakigalaw ulit ng baso.
Sedi ang munting prinsipe. Ayan. So, I guess hindi makapag-mute unmute si Sedi. Let's read his question, Mama V.
All right. So Miss Tai, Sedi's question would be: when you have sexual intercourse with the same gender, does that does that make you less of a straight?
Good question. So, ang lagi kasi nating thank you, Sedi, no? That's a very good question. Lagi kasi ina-associate natin sa human sexuality is the act of sex. No? When in fact, sexuality and gender is an act of self-determination. So, Sedi, imagine that there's a straight guy. All his life, straight. Will only think of sex in terms of male and female. Will only think of romantic relationships, male and female. But, nagkaroon siya ng sexual encounter because of necessity. He has to feed his family, he has to help finance or support his family. And because of circumstances, dahil napakahirap na bansa tayo, he has to have sexual intercourse with another man, with the same sex. These are men who have sex with men. Are they necessarily gay just because they have sex with other men? The answer is no. Because they have not self-determined that they are gay. It does not make you less of a straight person if you have one sexual encounter, 10 sexual encounters, or every day you have sex with a man. Until you self-determine that you are gay, bisexual, pansexual, etc., or you don't care. So, that's the thing. The answer to what your question is, lalo na pag tinatanong, ay, bakla siya kasi nakikita ko siya nakapag-sex sa isang guy, or like something sila sa CR ng girl, so may lesbian ka na friend, no? Parang nagkaroon sila ng encounter, na chismis siyang bakla. That's actually a very unfair, sizing up of a person. Not only did you limit what he is, pinangunahan mo siya. And yun dapat ang unang naiintindihan ng isang LGBT individual. If you are able to self-determine, why are you not respecting the ability of another to self-determine? So allow for somebody to tell everyone kung ano yung pagka-self-determine niya. Kahit sabihin na natin, oh my God, ang bakla-bakla na niya kumilos, pero straight pa rin daw siya. So, what if that is a gender expression of a straight man, but his gender expression is a lot more feminine? Right? The same way you should be, you seek respect for your own self, must be the same respect you must afford to those people who are still trying to self-determine. I think that's the thing.
That's a really nice question from Sedi, Miss Tice. And I do agree with what you said because, like yung sinasabi sa mga friends ko na only them can identify themselves because sila yung nakakakilala sa sarili nila. And I do really agree it's on point, Miss Tice. So, Nito, go ahead and move on to our next question.
Ayan. So, for our next question, may we call Jay Ohana. You may unmute now and ask Miss Tice your question.
Hi, Jay.
Hello po, Miss Tice. So, kanina po, may question po kasi, may na-mention po kayo about sa difference ng sexual relationship tsaka romantic relationship. So, ang sa akin po kasi, alam ko na I'm attracted to guys sexually. Pero pag sinabi na like with a romantic relationship, parang isip ko rin po is parang doon pa rin po sa mga babae. So question ko kanina is can you still call that as like bisexuality? So parang ganun po.
Thank you so much, Jay. That's such an amazing, interesting question, no? So you are straddling the world of being sexual and romantic, okay? So the same way na hinihiwalay natin ang sexual orientation and gender identity, pwede rin ihiwalay ang sexual attraction and romantic attraction. Pursuing sexual relationships and romantic relationships. You can be homosexual, Jay, but you can be biromantic. Or you can be bisexual and homoromantic. So it matters when you say these things so that it's more of your self-understanding. So as you can see, you have gone through the process of self-identification. Self-determination pala, sorry. So, nag-self-identify ka na sexually you're attracted to men. But romantically, you see yourself only getting attracted to women. So that's how you've self-determined your understanding of your own sexual attraction and romantic attraction. Again, guys, these can be independent of each other. So yes, Jay, you can be, you can limit that idea to being homoromantic to women, but then homosexual to men. But that's only, remember, in relation to your gender identity. Kaya lang natin nasasabi yon kasi ang tingin mo sa identity mo ay cis male or trans male. Okay? But it's, again, we don't understand 100% of human sexuality. But unti-unti, when we open our minds, we realize, oo nga no, why do we limit ourselves to just one notion of romanticism or sexuality? Ngayon na intindihan natin, pwede pala yun ihiwalay. I hope that answers your question.
Ayan.
Thank you po.
So, thank you so much, Jay. For our next question, let's call on Mike.
Hello.
Hi, Mike.
I just wanted to ask, in terms of genetic predilection, how much does it contribute to one's SOGIE, like nature versus nurture? How much does nature contribute, and how much does nurture contribute to developing one's SOGIE?
Thank you. Good question, Mike. Again, classic arguments on nature versus nurture is the concept of human sexuality and gender. Okay, here's what you should know. Okay, there have been many studies that kind of prove that SOGIE is something that's biological. No, marami ng understanding. Ang dami kasing comparison to the natural world, like animals. Do animals have a gender? Do they have a self-awareness of what they are? Feminine or masculine, etc. There are studies that surprisingly point towards, yes, may awareness somehow ang animals, but it's more based on their instinct or their need for that certain time. Like for example, there are shellfish that can change sex because nagbago lang ang temperature ng tubig. So may mga fish na pag mainit, babae, pag malamig, lalaki. So, but why do they do this? Because they need it for breeding. No? There's a biological need for them to do that. Clownfish, See, Finding Nemo. Actually, when there are no more females in a colony of clownfish, a male clownfish can become female. Diba? Also, gender roles. A kangaroo, wait, maybe not a kangaroo, kasi minsan nag-share sila. But the better example is a horse, a seahorse. So the male seahorse is the one that gets pregnant. So sa kanya, nadideposit yung mga anak ng seahorse. Hindi sa babae. Sa male seahorse na nadideposit yung mga anak. So you can see, kung i-compare mo sa biology, gender roles, sexual identity, ang basis ng biological nature ng sex remains to be just if the use of it will forward a certain species existence in the world. Kung continuous yung magiging existence ng isang species. But for humans, you can see that even if may biological factor, ang understanding ng gender, a huge part of it is us going through our own societies, experiencing and understanding our relationships with other people. Do you think if kung iisa lang ang tao sa buong mundo, they would bother thinking about their own gender and sex? Of course, the impact of being in a community, being part of society, will have a way of how you think of your own self. So I guess my main point here is, yes, in comparison to nature, there is a predilection genetic-wise, so kung anong makeup natin, into eventually how are we going to understand gender. But for the most part, our communities, our societies, how we understand the world and our relationship to it informs us largely of what our own gender identity, sexual orientation is. So that's it.
Ayan, thank you again sa ating question. Ang next naman na magtatanong, Miss Thais, kilala mo to at ang ever mahal kong BL Frags na si Tito Ampol.
Oh my gosh! Hi, Tito. How are you?
Hello. I'd like to keep it on, please. Charot. Hello, Thais. Congratulations. Salamat sa napakagandang talk. Anyway, this is my question. Is it is it okay to ask for someone SOGIE? And if it's not, is there any way you can ask someone SOGIE na hindi sila ma-offend? Thank you.
Good question, Tito. And nice to see you and hear you. At least kahit dito online. Okay. So for the question, is it okay to ask for a person SOGIE? And how would it be na kung respectful siya? Always interrogate your intention. Because somebody who is LGBT, kahit hindi, will feel if the question is intended to harm, magpahiya, mag-disrespect, or if it's genuinely something that they want to know. And ang ang baseline ng pagtatanong lagi is respect. And siguro human decency. You will probably not ask what a person's SOGIE is habang nakapila kayo sa grocery. Right? You will probably not ask someone SOGIE habang nasa jeep kayo. Diba? So, when you say, is it okay to ask for a person SOGIE? Number one, which setting? Nasaan kayo ngayon? Diba? Pangalawa, how do you know this person? How well do you know this person? Number three, your intention. Gusto ko ba siyang i-mock? Gusto ko ba siyang i-put on the spot? Or gusto ko bang matuto? Somebody else's, when you say, how do you do it? What was the second part of the question?
How will you ask someone
What
soji
is it?
na hindi sila
Kung
ma-offend? Yeah.
respectful, nakakabastos, no? So, tama. So, paano mo siya i-ask? Then you have to see, is it humanly decent to ask this question? And the offense will always come from the person na kinausap mo. Diba? Pwede naman na mag-intro ka, nasa cafe kayo, tapos napunta yung usapan nyo doon. Siguro ang ano is, ask for consent. Okay lang mapag-usapan? And when they say no, then that's a no. Or you can ask, I'm sorry, but if you get offended, just let me know. Because I will stop. Or kung ignorant na yung tanong ko. So, I guess my main point is, if you want to ask about someone else's SOGIE, start with a point of view, or start with a point of care, no? Because why do you care so much? Parang either you're a friend, you're a loved one, or you genuinely want to understand. Start with a point of care, and then respect, and then isipin mo yung bounds of human decency. And then I guess your fear of being offensive is actually good. Because ibig sabihin, pinapahalagahan mo yung mararamdaman ng kausap mo. You care enough na hindi siya ma-offend at makita niya na yung intention mo is respectful. So okay yun. But whenever they say something, take it as it is, respect their response. And if you want to ask more questions, ask for consent. Ito lang ha, hindi pagtatanong ng SOGIE ang pagtatanong sa akin, for example, ng, guys, nakatayo ka pa ba umiihi? Hindi gano'n ang pag-ask ng SOGIE ha. Hindi rin siya pagtatanong sa trans man, for example, nagka-pills ka na ba? Nag-i-inject ka na ba ng hormones? Hindi rin ganun yun. It comes with a certain level of closeness, yung mga ganung klaseng tanungan, no? So you don't ask a stranger that because, to be honest, or even yung, ano ka ba, top or bottom? Diba? Offhand, when you ask a gay man, are you top or bottom, ibig sabihin sexual role? You don't ask that in a dinner table. So, again, bounds of human decency. And I guess, come from a place of care so that you will get the responses that you want. Yung hindi ka kabalang sagutin at hindi yung kinakatakutan mo na ma-offend siya. If you're afraid of offending someone, then my God, don't ask offensive questions. Period.
Thank you, Tita Thais. Maraming salamat.
Yes, period. So, I guess kung isa-summarize natin yung sinabi ni Thais, no, it's always context and consent if we want to know someone's SOGIE. So, Mami Via, yan, sinong ating next audience na mag-ask?
We can consider this our last question for Miss Thais. This is from Corsi and Gab. Corsi and Gab, are you there? Are you present right now? Please unmute and go ahead and ask your question.
Hello.
So I guess Miss Thais, they're not available right now. Let me go ahead and ask the question for you. What do you want to say to the people who are still lost in terms of their SOGIE? Ano yung mga misconceptions sa tingin mo that makes people lost?
Mm. Like, is this in the terms of a person who walang idea about SOGIE? Kung bakit lost sila? Okay. Okay. Sometimes, okay, I'm gonna tell you a quick story, no? When I first understood what SOGIE is, the first time I tried to tell this to somebody else other than myself was with a straight man. As in talagang straight man. Walang queer bone in this body. Even a willing understanding of what being queer or LGBT is. Um, ang nangyari was, when I told him na, for example, umabot na kami sa usapan ng transgender, na pwedeng ang trans ay trans na babae ha, nag-determine na siya na trans ako, I'm born male, but my gender identity is female, pero you can be in a relationship with a woman. So lesbian siya na transgender. Doon sumabog ang utak niya. Sabi niya, ano yun? Nagsabi na siya na hindi siya lalaki, babae siya, pero babae pa rin ang gusto niya. So, kung hindi maitawid ng isang tao yung ganong idea, hindi ganun kabukas yung pag-iisip niya, nahihirapan talaga. And it blows their minds, that kind of concept, no? But when you tell them, okay, where is the hesitancy? Nasaan ba yung pagkalito? Just imagine knowing something and then told na what you knew all along is not reality. It's hard to accept. Hindi yun mabilis na maintindihan. A lot of it is a process, no? So, kung proseso ito, ang approach dapat is tulungan sila na maintindihan to from the first part of the process till the very end. From zero understanding to complete understanding, or at least, enough understanding na they are able to also share it with others. It's just a matter of, medyo existential na siya sorry Kasi minsan when you say, lahat ng alam mo ngayon ay hindi pala yun totoo, or hindi pala yun yun yung tama, or yun pala yung realidad, it becomes hard to accept. And that's the root of all this understanding. That's why you have to open up the mind first, set them up for what they're about to hear, and then make them ready for what they're about to hear. Yun lang naman.
Ayan, thank you. So, Via, pwede pa tayo mag-isa? Sino yung last, natin, tatawagin natin?
So for our super last question, Miss Thais, it would be, give me 1 second. It would be Meds. Meds, are you there?
Hola.
Meds, pakigalaw ng baso.
Pakigalaw na po yung kitchen. Charot.
All right, so I guess Meds is not available. Miss Thais, the last question would be, is heterophobic really a thing?
Ito yung weird, guys. So recently sa Twitter, na-accuse ako niyan. Akong gender advocate, kung meron akong heterophobia, I am against daw sa heterosexuality. Sabi ko, why? How can I be heterophobic? Okay, ito ang thing Is there really heterophobia? Ito kasi yan, it's a matter of power. And kung sino yung power na nagpre-prevail. This is also the same thing why we don't have reverse racism. Okay? So, when you say, okay, ang oppressed kasi na sector of society is the homosexuals, the LGBT. Okay? There's phobia against them because they are not understood or there is willing ignorance on their lives and how they lead their lives and their own identities. Is there willing ignorance sa heterosexual people? Am I ignorant of someone's straightness? Am I fearful of someone's idea of their straightness? I don't think so. Because it's the freaking status quo. Pinanganak ako na yun yung naintindihan ko. The phobia, kung ano yung hindi naintindihan, the fear, the ignorance, yun yung na-experience natin. And I guess, walang reverse side nun. Kasi wala naman akong hindi naiintindihan sa heterosexuality. Kasi nga, siya yung napakatagal lang nandyan. And power play, who is powerful in the society are the heterosexuals. Diba? The main reason why we are still fighting for our own equal rights is because they don't want us to. They think having rights is a pie na pag nag-claim ka ng right mo, mababawasan yung pie nila. I guess this is a good segue to our next topic with Vince. Why we need to push for an equality law in the Philippines. Because when we ask for equal rights, for people in the status quo, it will feel like oppression. When we demand that we are respected, we are recognized, it will feel for them that they are oppressed. And that's why they say there's heterophobia. So I think Vince will be able to explain more about that in the later session. But that's what I want you to say or feel. I can categorically say to you right now that there is no heterophobia. You cannot be afraid or ignorant of something that one is the status quo, number two, holds the most power in the society. Okay.
Ayan again, so thank you so much, Thais, our first speaker, and also thank you so much sa lahat ng nag-ask ng questions. And for those questions na hindi po nasagot, don't worry, we will have another Q&A portion after our next speaker. So again, Thais, thank you so much from PangPang OFC. Maraming salamat sa iyo.
Thank you so much. I just have to also share, guys. If you have, I've taken note of some of the questions here, but it's easier for me if I could see this. If you can tweet me your question. So I'm open 24 hours, 7 days a week. If you have questions, my DMs are open about LGBTQIA questions about identity. I will answer best as I can, as fast as I can. This is my advocacy. Diba? The more people who understand who we are, who you are, the better for all of our society. And you are free to ask me questions on sex orientation and gender identity on my Twitter and Instagram. I think that's easier. Yung mga DMs nyo doon. So follow me. My Twitter is Thais, THYSZ. My Instagram is ThaisS, THYSZEST. That's for Thais Estrada, my full name. Thank you so much for having me. I hope I wasn't breaking up. Naintindihan ng mga tao yung mga sinasabi kong concepts. Medyo heavy, a little bit. I know some of you medyo sumabog siguro yung utak, but If you need more explanation, I'm just online. Let me know. My DMs are open.
Yes. Ayan. Thank you so much, Thais.
Thank you,
Yan.
Miss.
So, tweet nyo lang si Miss Thais. Definitely mag-reply. Napaka-approachable yan. Not only online, but also in person. Yan. So,
Yes.
again, Miss Thais, thank you so much. Yan, and before tayo pumunta sa next speaker, magpapaayuda po muna tayo ulit. And this ayuda is from Celine Treats. So again, don't forget to follow them on Instagram at CelineTreatsPH. Yan, so owned po yan ng sister ni Paolo Pangilinan.
All right. So with that said, Nino, winners the chat and you will send an email to those 20 early birds. So congratulations to all the 20 winners. Please go ahead and DM at PangPang OFC on how to claim your prize. And also up next, we also have our Tuk Chak Twitter contest winner or flashed on the screens if you can see the next slide. At muli sa lahat ng attendees po ng webinar na ito, you would receive a 20 peso off from Tuk
Ayan.
Chak.
So, nasa chat box na po yung 20 early birds at nanalo po tayo ng treats from CelineTreatsPH. So, muli maraming salamat sa aming sponsors. Ang dami-dami nating prizes for tonight. And guys, that's just the start and we'll have more later. So again, maraming salamat sa lahat ng ating mga mahal na sponsors. And again, do not forget to follow them on our sponsors on their IG pages. And muli, kung magte-tweet po tayo tonight or magpo-post anything on your social media, please don't forget to use the hashtag GCanaba PPO.
Okay. We can move on to our next speaker, ma'am. But again,
Yes.
congratulations to all the women. Now, to move on with our next topic, we have making it legal, knowing the basic principles, provisions, and importance of the SOGIE equality bill. So again, guys, another reminder, you can go ahead and send in the questions to chat box while the speaker is discussing the topic that we have at hand.
Ayan. So for our next speaker, I personally wanted to introduce this person to you kasi he's a very good friend of mine and also a very, very nice person. So for our next speaker, he is a human rights advocate and student leader advocating for democracy, gender equality, and youth empowerment, among others. He finished his Bachelor of Arts in Political Science in 2015 and is currently pursuing his master's degree in urban and regional planning at the University of the Philippines, Diliman. He was a youth innovator at the United Nations Population Fund or UNFPA Philippines and a former punong babaylan or president of the University of the Philippines, Babaylan, the premier LGBT student organization in the country. He was also recognized as the Youth Champion for Sustainable Development Goal reduce inequalities by the 2030 Project in 2018. He currently works as the national convener of the Philippine Anti-Discrimination Alliance of Youth Leaders or PANTAY, a national network of young Filipinos campaigning for the passage of the SOGIE Equality Bill in Congress and gender equality and non-discrimination in the Philippines. So guys, give it up for our next speaker, Vince Liban. Hi Vince!
Hello, hi ma'am. Hi everyone. I'm glad to be here. Let me just share my screen. All right. Nakikita naman?
Yes, po.
Okay. Let's see. Okay. Hello, everyone. I'm Vince. I'm the current national convener of the Philippine Anti-Discrimination Alliance of Youth Leaders or PANTAY. Una-una, maraming salamat po sa pag-iimbita. I'm glad na si Tita Thais ang nakapagbigay ng SOGIE 101 sa ating lahat kanina. It's very comprehensive. Tama si Tita Thais, no? And I think ang takeaway point sana natin doon ay lahat tayo may sexual orientation, gender identity, and expression or yung SOGIE. Itong quote na to, itong why not just Homo sapiens, it came from a very controversial senator. hindi na natin papangalanan, no? Pero Senate President siya, Char. And the question really was, bakit ba natin binibigyan pa ng special rights ang mga LGBT people with the SOGIE Equality Bill? Bakit hindi na lang daw Homo sapiens? No? Bakit ang dami-dami daw letters masyado ng LGBTQIA+, nagkaroon pa raw ng SOGIE, hindi na raw kinaya ng kanyang very complex or very challenged na brain capacity. Charot. So, ideally, syempre, gusto natin ipakilala ang SOGIE Equality Bill, no? At alam naman nating lahat na ang SOGIE SOGIE Equality Bill ay para sa lahat dahil lahat nga ng tao, lahat ng Homo sapiens ay mayroong SOGIE. Good point kanina yung na-raise na discrimination continues to exist. Important yun i-point out dahil historically, kahit lahat ng tao po ay may sexual orientation, gender identity, and expression, may portion ng lipunan na nakaka-experience ng discrimination on a daily basis. No, daily basis meaning nadi-discriminate sila sa pamilya nila, pwedeng nadi-discriminate sila sa trabaho, sa eskwelahan, and even in public places. Kaya importante na i-end yung discrimination na to dahil women and LGBT people face discrimination on a daily basis. Ibig sabihin din po, no, some are privileged than others. Meaning, some are, in other words, blessed to not experience discrimination the same way that women and LGBT people experience it. May mga natatanggap sa trabaho na hindi na-discriminate dahil ang itsura nila ay mukhang LGBT raw. O kaya naman may mga estudyante na hindi nabubuli ng mga sarili nilang teachers dahil sila ay malambot. No, so syempre we want them to take part also and be in solidarity with the campaign dahil hindi rin naman natin masasabi na matatapos yung pagiging straight nila sa kanila. No? Hindi natin masasabi na lahat ng anak nila ay magiging straight hanggang sa kaapu-apuhan pa. So the SOGIE Equality Bill really wants to secure that the future is safe space and that it protects everyone on the basis from discrimination on the basis of sexual orientation, gender identity, and expression. I don't know if you've watched yung movie, I forgot this, pero tukol siya sa 3 Black or African American women in Netflix na nagtatrabaho sa NASA. There was a moment in history, no, that African American people or African Americans are discriminated sa CR. No? And right now, looking back, it's absurd, no? Na bakit natin sinesegregate ang mga iba ang kulay sa establishments, no? Tulad ng and facilities tulad ng CR. No? Ito yung gusto nating i-address actually. Kasi there are certain services that discriminate LGBT and women dahil lang sila ay LGBT. Alright. So ano nga ba talaga yung SOGIE Equality Bill, no? Ang SOGIE Equality Bill po, also known as the Anti-Discrimination Bill, aims to address the problem of discrimination on the basis of SOGIE while assigning appropriate penalties for such practices. SOGIE Equality Bill is a working bill. Sa Senate, it's Senate Bill 159 by Senator Risa Hontiveros. And in the House of Representatives, it's HB 143 by Representative Geraldine Roman. Actually po, pagdating sa legislation kasi, ang mga congressman at ang mga senador ay may initiative to file different bills. No? So in short, itong SOGIE Equality Bill is the general name for bills that seek to address the problem of discrimination on the basis of SOGIE. Kasaysayan nito, no, it was first filed by then Akbayan Representative Eta Rosales and Senator Miriam Defensor Santiago in 2000 during the 11th Congress. It was passed on the third and final reading at the House of Representatives during the 12th Congress, but the Senate version unfortunately did not progress. In 2015, in the 15th Congress, it was also consolidated into a comprehensive anti-discrimination bill. Pero dahil din sa delaying tactics ng ating mga kalaban, no, ay hindi rin siya napasa. Recently, in the previous Congress, that's the 17th Congress, pumasa rin ulit ang SOGIE Equality Bill sa third and final reading sa House of Representatives. But we have senators like Senator Villanueva, pangalanan na natin, charot. Senator Villanueva, Senator Soto, that wanted to delay and actively prohibited the SOGIE Equality Bill from being passed. So, magandang tanungin natin, so ano nga ba yung diskriminasyon? Alam natin ang diskriminasyon kapag nakikita at nararamdaman natin siya. No? But based on the proposed legislation, it refers to any distinction, exclusion, restriction, or preference based on any grounds, such as sex, sexual orientation, gender identity, or expression, and has the purpose or effect of nullifying or impairing the recognition, access to, and enjoyment of exercise by all persons on an equal footing of all rights and freedoms. Gusto po nitong ipakita, no, na sa kasalukuyang lipunan, hindi pantay-pantay ang mga tao. In short, the SOGIE Equality Bill is a social justice measure. Gusto niyang i-end ang discrimination at the same time i-uplift yung mga tao who have experienced discrimination historically. Sa provision na ito, no, yung actual sex at SOGIE ng isang tao na subjected to discrimination shall not be relevant. Bakit? Kasi kapag nangyayari yung mga acts of discrimination, nagiging irrelevant yung actual at mas madalas na take into account yung perceived sexual orientation, gender identity, and expression. Dahil yung act of discrimination madalas, ayaw kasi nating i-assume yung SOGIE ng isang tao, ideally. No? But for some people, they act on their perceived judgment or yung prejudice nila towards a certain individual or a certain group of people. So, ano ba yung mga discriminatory acts na included dito? Kasama dito yung una-una, denial of access to public service with special mention of military service. No? So, bawal po na i-prohibit ang mga LGBT persons and groups and organizations in joining public service, running for office, and joining the military. Nandyan din yung SOGIE as criteria for hiring, promotion, or qualification. Madalas sa employment, tinitingnan ng mga kumpanya, no, yung SOGIE bilang isang criteria for hiring. No? Growing up, akala rin natin ang teacher ay pambabae, ang police ay panlalaki. Akala natin growing up din ang doktor panlalaki, ang nurse pambabae. No? But in reality, nakikita natin na may mga doktor na lalaki at babae, may mga police na lalaki at babae. So SOGIE should not be a criteria for hiring, a promotion, or qualification. May mga instances din po, may mga reports, no, na ang isang empleyado ay hindi na pro-promote dahil daw siya ay isang LGBT. So, dapat tinatanggal yung ganitong sistema sa employment. There's also this discrimination na refusal of entrance or entry or expulsion in academic institutions. May mga instances po, I'm sure you might know some people or some friends na nadidiscriminate sila sa kanilang mga eskwelahan. No? Kasama po dito yung paggugupit ng buhok ng mga trans women o kaya naman ay pag-disallow, pag-refuse ng admission para sa mga LGBT persons. The University of Santo Tomas, for example, has included in one of their forms na dapat daw ay hindi ka magkaroon ng jowa na same-sex. So mga ganitong acts ay discriminatory towards LGBT people. There's also the refusal or revocation of accreditation or of any organization, political party, or institution. There was a time that Ladlad party list, a party list for LGBT people, was refused by the COMELEC. No, eventually, inalaw po ng Supreme Court ang ang Ladlad na tumakbo. So, yung mga ganong instances, no, refusal or revocation of accreditation of any organization, even in schools or even in communities, ay hindi dapat inaalaw ng Estado. Yung denial of access to health services is also important dahil there are instances where LGBT people are refused to be served by doctors themselves. And luckily, no, the Philippine Medical Association supported our call na dapat hindi dinidiscriminate ang isang pasyente dahil lang sa kanyang SOGIE. There are also instances where trans women are denied access to health services. Even lesbian women actually, kapag sila ay nag-a-apply ng mammograms for their reproductive health, some hospitals deny them of these services. Denial of application or revocation of professional license, not including ang marriage license dito. Hindi po pwedeng i-revoke o kaya i-deny ang application ng isang LGBT person para sa kanyang professional license. Pagdating naman sa access to establishments, facilities, and utilities or services, kasama na ang housing, bawal po na discriminate ang mga LGBT at yung mga magjowa na LGBT dahil ang idea po behind this is these are all services under the public domain. So ang eskwelahan halimbawa, ang restaurant, ang mga public transportation are in the public domain because they seek to serve. No? Sana hindi makalimutan yun ng mga establishments na they're not there to discriminate other people but to serve. All right? May mga instances po that trans women are denied entry to restaurants and bars just because they are trans women. No? Na mali naman no? Kasi they just want to access yung services that are available for everyone. Ito rin, bawal din po sa SOGIE Equality Bill ang forced medical or psychological exams or yung tinatawag din na conversion therapy to determine and or alter a person's SOGIE without his or her consent or without their consent. Napakahalaga nito kasi even in the Philippines, hindi lang masyadong napapag-usapan. There are instances where parents and even religious or faith-based groups would advocate for conversion therapies. In international organizations or in the international setting, bawal po ang conversion therapies dahil ito ay abuso at pag-atake sa isang tao based on their sexual orientation, gender identity, and expression. Ang SOGIE po ay hindi dapat fino-force na baguhin. At the same time, even psychiatric and psychological organizations all around the world denounce itong mga forced conversion therapies na ito. Trigger warning, this may involve forced rape, especially to lesbian women, para madalas ng kanilang mga kamag-anak pa, no? Sasabihin, hindi mo pa kasi natitikman ang makipag-sex sa lalaki, kaya ka naging lesbian. Hindi po ito totoo, no? Kasi ang mga straight naman, hindi naman nila kailangan makipag-sex sa opposite sex just to identify or just to know that they are straight. This bill also requires the approval of the appropriate family court for minors. Dahil na rin sakop ng family code natin yung kapangyarihan ng mga parents over minors, no? Madalas ay pinupush ng ibang parentals ng mga parents. But this bill has provisions that seek to promote the human rights or yung rights of the child. against abuse even from their own parents. Okay. Um, it also prevents harassment by the police or military. May report actually po na natanggap recently yung LGBT orgs under Lagablab na may isang trans woman daw na nag-file na or nag-report sa police. So, pasensya na sa example, no, siya po ay nabiktima ng rape, actually ng gang rape. But the police, when they responded to her, ang sabi pa sa kanya ay, hindi mo ba nagustuhan? So instead of getting redress for their grievances, sometimes LGBT people are harassed by the police and the military. So this is unacceptable under the SOGIE Equality Bill. Yung differential treatment and disciplinary practices based on SOGIE ay pinagbabawal din po. I know you are very much familiar with this na kapag ikaw ay LGBT, minsan harsher yung penalties or yung harsher yung punishments na natatanggap mo. This was very explicit and was made public also during the coronavirus pandemic. May instances po na yung sa Pampanga, mga minors pinagsayaw ng mismong kapitan at pinaghubad. No? Pagdating naman sa Zamboanga, yung mga kapatid natin na trans women, nung nahuli sila na nasa labas noong curfew, sila ay ginupitan. And minsan itong paggugupit po ng buhok, actually madalas, itong paggugupit ng buhok ay isang sign ng atake sa dignidad ng isang transgender person. Pagdating din sa public speech against LGBTQ+ persons, pinagbabawal po ito. Kasi we want to create a safe space for LGBT persons. Nasa bill na hindi kasama ang religious speech o yung mga pronouncements na ginagawa sa loob ng espasyo ng mga religious institutions kagaya ng simbahan. Later baka may magtanong tungkol sa kung ano pa yung hate speech na makakonsider or yung mga religious speech na makakonsider, we can answer that. Pagdating din sa gender profiling, hindi lang po ito yung nasa form lang, tatanungin ang iyong gender, hindi po ganun. Profiling refers to subjecting a person or a group of persons to investigatory activities which include unnecessary, unjustified, or illegal and degrading searches or other investigatory activities. In determining whether an individual is engaged in an activity presumed to be unlawful, immoral, or socially unacceptable. This is under Senator Risa's bill. Important din na ma-include itong gender profiling dahil madalas ay presumed guilty o kaya presumed na immoral ang ginagawa ng mga LGBT persons. No, this is unacceptable dahil nawawala yung presumption of innocence pagdating sa LGBT persons. Madalas pinagdidiskitahan pa sila. Actually, pinagdidiskitahan pa tayo no, ng mga police and mga military pagdating sa mga searches na ganito. Of course, harassment, bullying, and violence and other analogous circumstances are prohibited under the SOGIE Equality Bill. For penalties, the SOGIE Equality Bill will give the court the discretion to impose upon a person, corporation, or organization guilty of committing discriminatory acts listed above or earlier, a fine within the range of 100,000 to 500,000 pesos, with imprisonment of not less than a year but not more than 6 years. And itong important, community service comprising of human rights education and exposure to the plight of the victims. Minsan sinasabi ng mga bigots na feeling ko ay guilty of discriminating LGBT persons, no, na masyado namang mahal o kaya naman bakit naman may kulong. Ang magandang sagot po dyan ay yung response ni Representative Geraldine Roman na hindi napepresyuhan ang dignidad ng isang tao. Dahil na rin sa tagal na ang mga LGBT persons ay discriminated, this only actually follows no, yung mga other similar crimes or mga similar prohibited acts legally. No? Average pa nga itong 100 to 500,000 at yung 1 year to 6 years. At syempre gusto natin na merong restorative justice aspect yung penalties. Kaya kasama dito yung community service with human rights education, and of course, kasama yung SOGIE 101 for them to understand better yung plight or yung struggles ng mga biktima. Administrative sanctions under the civil service law may also be imposed upon government officials who refuse to investigate, prosecute, or act a complaint for a violation of this act. In short, ang inaction po, pagdating sa allegations of discrimination ay may penalties din na admin sanctions. Pagdating sa redress mechanisms of SOGIE-related offenses, the bill should expand the roles of some public offices to attend to cases of SOGIE-related offenses. We already have the women and children desks of police stations nationwide na magiging gender desk siya sa mga police stations. Of course, the Commission on Human Rights as the gender ombud should take an active role also in providing redress mechanisms for SOGIE-related offenses. There's also the Civil Service Commission and the Department of Labor and Employment that should respond or that should create redress mechanisms for these kinds of offenses. Other important provisions po, nabanggit ko kanina na these are work in progress actually, pero sa tagal na niyang pinag-deliberate, I could honestly say that the current state of the bill is of prime importance already. Kumbaga, hinog na siya, no? Promotion of SOGIE diversity and non-discrimination is included. So hindi lang siya anti-discrimination, it also promotes SOGIE equality. And it also encourages positive portrayal of LGBT persons in media. And this is in the House of Representatives version that passed last Congress. A few myths, no? Alam na natin kung ano yung SOGIE equality bill, pero kailangan malaman din natin what it isn't. Madalas sinasabi nila na ang SOGIE equality bill daw will violate religious freedom. Hindi po ito totoo, no? Dahil hindi natin pinipigilan ang mga religious persons or persons with religion to practice their faith or practice their religion sa kanilang mga religious spaces. Siyempre, pagdating sa public, and even human rights organizations would agree with this, no? So, pagdating sa public, your religious right ends when you use it against another person's right. At kasama na nga po dun sa individual right ng person ay yung right to identity and to not be discriminated. Ang non-discrimination po is a basic human right. Pangalawa, ang SOGIE equality bill daw will allow same-sex marriage, no? As much as we might want to create maybe a Magna Carta of LGBT persons o kaya naman an LGBT equality bill or kaya gender equality bill, pagdating po sa legislation, a bill can only hold certain idea lang, no? So the equality bill or the anti-discrimination bill can only prohibit discrimination on the basis of SOGIE. Yung marriage equality bill po is different. I think a lot of the faith-based organizations are afraid of this, no? Pero parang for me, ano bang mali kung ikasal ang lalaki sa kapwa lalaki at ang babae sa kapwa babae? Anyway, sabi rin dito, the SOGIE equality bill daw will confuse bathroom rules, school uniforms, and sex-based facilities. But the good thing about the SOGIE equality bill here is that it challenges our perceptions on equality. It challenges our perceptions of gender. Na I think isn't a bad thing because people in society should not be afraid of change. Yung kinikwento ko nga kanina, no, in the past, if you're colored, you have a separate bathroom. Imagine how absurd that is. In the past, sometimes also they would designate an LGBTCR. Mali din naman yon, no? Kasi kung sa sarili nga nating bahay, hindi naman gendered ang ating mga CR, no? What makes public restrooms so special? Why can we not expand the idea of inclusion and acceptance in every facility or establishment that ought to serve the public. Tulad ng mga schools, tulad ng mga uh, offices, among many others. Sabi rin dito, SOGIE Equality Bill daw will make LGBT a super special elite class. O, diba ang taray? In one of the committee hearings in Congress, may isang abogado na anti-LGBT ang nagsabi nito. No? Ang chinika niya, pag pinasa natin ng SOGIE Equality Bill, we will make the LGBT a super special elite class. Diba? Tipong parang may powers tayo. Kaya magiging superhero tayo kapag napasa ang SOGIE Equality Bill. But in reality, hindi po natin hinihingi ang special o kaya ang pagtingin kung saan ido-dominate natin ang non-LGBT persons. Hindi po ganun yon. The same way that when the Magna Carta of Women was passed, hindi naman naging super special elite class ang mga kababaihan. When the IP rights law was passed, hindi naman naging super special elite class ang mga IPs. When the Magna Carta for Persons with Disabilities was passed, hindi rin naging super special elite class ang mga persons with disabilities. Again, these are social justice laws that would seek to make society more equitable, especially to the marginalized communities tulad ng LGBT persons. I can't stress enough how data and both narratives of or stories of discrimination have been shared for more than 20 years in Congress. However, yung mga legislators natin sometimes actually some anti-LGBT legislators would seek to recognize that discrimination continues to exist and that LGBT persons deserve equal rights. So ang tanong natin ngayon, nasaan na ba yung SOGIE Equality Bill? I'll show you a picture of the legislative process and where we are now in the 18th Congress. Ayan. So, ito po yung progress ng SOGIE Equality Bill as of today. O, di ba? In-edit ko siya today. Both chambers of Congress, both Senate and the House of Representatives, need to pass their versions of the SOGIE Equality Bill. Tapos mag-merge sila dito sa number 5 sa Bicameral Conference Committee. Then it will be ratified by both houses and will be transmitted to the President. Once it's transmitted to the President can either sign it into law kung gusto niyang suportahan, veto it kung hindi niya bet, or after 30 days, it can pass into law. So, parang automatic, parang gano'n. O, di ba? So right now, si House of Representatives, andito pa lang po tayo sa first reading. Hindi pa siya nako-consider ng committee. Actually, kino-consider pa lang. Ang haba-haba na po ng mga committee meetings at lagi siyang ina-attendan ng mga deputy speakers na kalaban natin, like sila Deputy Speaker Eddie Villanueva, Deputy Speaker Benny Abante. So, these are legislators related to faith-based groups, and I really can't understand kung bakit ayaw nila ng pagkakapantay-pantay if this would benefit them also and benefit the next generation to come. Sa Senate naman, last December, we were successful in passing it in the committee level, and Senator Risa Hontiveros already introduced it in the plenary. So, naantay na lang po natin yung second reading or yung magsimula ang period of sponsorship, debate, period of amendments, and voting, and matapos siya. Last Congress, dyan tayo nadali kasi ayaw nilang i-meet si Sen Risa at yung iba nating champions to discuss the bill, no? Kasi Senate President himself or themselves, ayaw naman natin siyang i-assume, charot, would not want to for the SOGIE Equality Bill to be discussed in plenary. Sad. So a good thing to discuss also is what can we do as individuals and as part of our own circles. No? Una, we can talk to friends and family and even our workmates into healthy discussions on human rights, equality, and non-discrimination. nabanggit ko na po kanina, and I want to reiterate it, that SOGIE equality is a basic human right. No? Our right to identity and to not be discriminated are basic human rights. It's important to discuss this with friends and family dahil this is a way of conditioning them to acceptance. No? When I came out in, I think that's 2020, sorry, recently, kahapon, last year lang. When I came out in 2015 pala, I was able to condition my parents, no? Kahit papano, I guess, na walang mali sa pagiging LGBT. It was a constant discussion of having friends who are LGBT, having LGBT leaders in the public area that create positive change. No? At the same time, I think this contributed also to how they would eventually accept me as an LGBT person. Number two, we can engage legislators and decision makers in government to support the fight for equality. Sino to mga legislators natin? You can Google also yung mga district representatives natin, mga district representatives sa House of Representatives. We have champions kahit papano sa Kongreso. Sa Senado naman, of course, we could message or email them. No? Nasa Senate website naman ang kanilang mga email address at nagpapasalamat kami sa mga kasama na patuloy na nag-i-email sa kanila. This is really helpful. No? And of course, mga decision makers tulad ng presidente at ng mga mayor para sa local anti-discrimination ordinances. This is a way of lobbying and contributing to helping yung mga lobbyists natin and advocates. Number three, you can organize and take part in campaigns and activities that promote gender equality. Something like this. Something like the PangPang and also itong mga activities na ganito. You could also join Pantay. You could join LGBT organizations in your communities that affirm yung mga principles ninyo. And of course, important ito dahil it seeks to promote visibility for the LGBT community in society. And of course, number four, continue to speak up against and call out discrimination when you see it. Yung mga, kahit actually simple lang na mga sexism, yes, you can call that out. Yung mga locker room talks, halimbawa, ng mga kalalakihan, minsan sinasabi nila, uy, pare, yung sexy nitong si ganito, no? Pwede nating i-call out yon. The same way na ang mga, kapag may mga remarks, yung mga parents natin na nagsasabing, ay, bakla kasi si ganito, kaya siguro siya ganyan, o kaya sayang naman siya kasi bakla siya, we could always seek to educate them and not hate. Kasi only through educating can we affect yung kanilang perception, and at the same time, that would eventually lead to acceptance. And of course, more importantly, be a human rights advocate and fight for equality. Because LGBT rights and the right to SOGIE and the right to identity and the right to not be discriminated are basic human rights. Maraming salamat po.
Ayan, thank you so much, Vince. Vince, may DM ako sa'yo. Ayan, so...
Ayan, so again, thank you so much to Vince Liban for the very informative discussion. Now we will go ahead and move on to the question and answer segment of the program. Now, once your name is called, please do unmute and ask the question you have.
Ayan. So, bago ko tawagin yung unang magtatanong, Vince, carry lang ba? Itanong ko sa'yo.
Sige.
Marami kasing nag-DM sa akin, dami nag-PM sa Telegram, sa Zoom. Single ka daw ba? Asking for my friends.
Char. Ako po ay currently may partner, no? Pero open naman kami sa maraming bagay.
Wow! Taray ng sagot. Palaban talaga si Vince. Ayan guys, so mga friends kong nag-DM sa akin, ayan, tinanong ko na po yung question. So, let's go with the real questions. May we call on Kyle? Ayan, so
Hello po. I think my question was answered during the talk. Siguro, thankful na lang po kay Sir Vince sa talk po. Thank you.
okay.
Ay,
Alright.
Taray, welcome. Charot.
Thank you po.
So let's go ahead and move on, Ninong. Next is Gigi Casey. Gigi, Paki, unmute, and you can now go ahead.
Sige. I have two questions po. Yung first one po is how can we educate younger siblings in a homophobic and religious household? Tapos pangalawa po, a lot of people say that there is so much more to a person than their SOGIE. And while that is true, but what can you say about people who intentionally dismiss a person's SOGIE because they don't believe in it or don't agree with it? Yun po.
Okay. Paulit yung second, love.
A lot of people say that there's so much more to a person than their SOGIE. And while that is true, what can you say about those who intentionally dismiss a person's SOGIE because they don't believe in it or because they don't believe in it? Yan po.
Alright, that's good. Yung unang question, how do we educate yung mga younger siblings? This is something very close to my heart. Alam niyo, before I came out to my parents, it was my younger siblings, my younger brother, who is very as in hardcore macho, ganon. And yung younger sister ko, they were the ones who talked to me and comforted me first. Parang, kuya, ready ka na ba? Whatever happens, nandito lang kami kasi yung pulis ko, yung tatay ko po ay pulis. Yung tatay ko po ay pulis at ang nanay ko ay religious. We come from a very religious family. And you know, it was a moment of getting heart-to-heart talks with them. And of course, establishing a safe vessel or establishing a safe space for you and your siblings to talk about these things. Kapag meron silang pinakita na opportunity to be educated, talk to them. And of course, it's a constant process of sending them positive thoughts about LGBT persons also. Dito nakakatulong yung mga LGBT persons in the media, like halimbawa yung PangPang, we can introduce yung BL series to them, di ba? At the same time, this is a good opportunity also to segue na parang alam mo wala namang masama sa pagiging LGBT. Nakikita naman natin even in BLs na ang pagmamahalan ng dalawang lalaki ay napakaganda. And it's the same love that everyone feels when they are in love. No? Love talaga agad. Tapos yung second naman, para sa mga tao na para sa mga tao na hindi naniniwala sa SOGIE, dinuro. There will come a time also na they would experience discrimination on the basis of SOGIE. Kasi lahat ng tao ay vulnerable to discrimination kapag walang protections like the SOGIE Equality Bill that would protect them from discrimination. Even a straight man can be discriminated kung sakaling siya ay halimbawa barbero, no? O kaya stylist. Kapag nag-apply siya sa isang salon na ang tinatanggap lang ay ang mga bakla at sinabi sa kanya na bawal ka dito kasi straight man ka, that's already SOGIE-based discrimination and we don't want it to happen to them. Of course, yung language naman ng human rights ay universal. Beyond yung mga circles ng small circles ng mga bigots, there's a greater space for discussions on human rights internationally. And I hope we could share this to them. So, ayun lang, huwag kayong masyadong mag-alala. Actually, strategy rin to, no? Don't focus your energies on bigots kasi mas mahirap silang i-educate. Focus your energies on educating those who are willing to learn. Ayun lang.
Ayan. I love what you said, Vince. So let's focus our energies dun sa mga taong open na matuto. So let's go to our next participant, Jolo Jose. Pakigalaw po ang baso.
Hello po. Ang question ko lang po is, bakit po kaya even within the LGBTQIA plus community is may discrimination po? Like, for example po, yung femphobia po against effeminate gays. Kasi po, di ba, if we want non-LGBT people to respect us and not discriminate us, edi dapat po, if even within the community is wala ng discrimination. Yun lang po.
I agree. No? Totoo na even within the community, there is discrimination. Ang tawag po dito ay internalized oppression. Minsan, ino-oppress nila yung sarili nila. May mga ways tulad ng they don't want to come out or they don't want to embrace themselves. Sometimes naman, if they're too out, they step on other people's rights o kaya they would look at femininity as something that is derogatory or something that is of lesser value. Ito po ay nagsistem from internalized oppression. And it's also important to engage them and to talk to them na lahat tayo ay pantay-pantay. If we want to be accepted in society, hindi dapat natin sinisiraan o nilalabanan yung isa't isa. The community needs to be in solidarity with each other, especially in cases that violate our rights. May mga instances pa yan na ito sa usapin naman ng femphobia, no? Ito po kasi ay isang mahabang learnings, no? Cultural na siya kumbaga, na habang lumalaki tayo maaaring narinig natin sa mga mas nakakatanda sa atin na ang pagiging bakla o ang pagiging balambot ay isang insulto, no? Nabasa ko kanina dito sa chat sa question ni GGMJ, so tatahakin na rin natin siya na tanong, no? Of course, how do we educate these people then? Important yung SOGIE 101 talaga. You tell them that everyone has SOGIE, number one, at doon mo ipapasok na sometimes people are discriminated and they do not deserve that. Ang pagiging LGBT ay hindi dapat isang insult. It's part of who we are, but we are more than that. I can be queer, but at the same time, I can be a writer. I can be queer, but at the same time, I can be an artist. I can be a public servant, among many others.
Ayan. Thank you ulit dun sa question, Jolo and Vince. Mami Via, sino next?
Ayan. So our next would be Enzo.
Ayan, hello po. Bale, I have two questions po. Actually, separate siya pero pagsabay ko na. First po, are there any legal impediments that prohibit the passage of the anti-discrimination bill? Just like the family code's definition of marriage that prohibits same-sex marriage, or is it entirely political? And yung second question ko naman po, while waiting for the national government to pass this anti-discrimination bill, why aren't local government units passing laws against discrimination like QC, Marikina, and Manila?
All right, very good questions. Okay, pagdating sa legislation, yung paggawa ng batas, kapag ang isang batas ay naipasa, it's possible that it can also amend a proposed legislation can amend existing laws. That's one. Pangalawa naman, magandang maalaman din natin, no, that sometimes existing laws cannot be fully amended and kumbaga existing lang sila. So pagdating sa SOGIE Equality Bill, hindi niya binabago ang family code. It only introduces yung idea ng number one, SOGIE, tapos at yung pangalawa, yung idea na bawal ang mag-discriminate on the basis of SOGIE. If we want to amend the family code, that would be a different legislation. Yung question kung there are legal if there are legal hurdles, wala. Wala po tayong legal hurdles. This is a completely political opposition from those who are anti-LGBT or those who promote hate against the LGBT community. Wala kasi tayong batas na nagsasabing bawal ang magpasa ng batas para sa LGBT, no, which is good, no. In fact, we already passed laws that somehow kahit papaano, although hindi niya fully natutulungan yung LGBT persons pagdating sa discrimination, would lessen yung blows na natatanggap natin. Halimbawa dyan, yung RA 11166 or yung Philippine HIV and AIDS Policy Act, dito po ini-introduce yung konsepto ng SOGIE. First time na introduce yung SOGIE as a concept sa Philippine laws. Andiyan din yung Safe Spaces Act na nagsasabi na bawal ang homophobic and transphobic slurs, especially in the public. So if people are harassing you in public, bawal po yun. As forms of harassment, bawal po yun. Nandiyan din yung Anti-Bullying Act for kids, for those in school. So bawal po silang mabully on the basis of their sexual orientation. Actually, hindi pa on their sexual orientation, gender identity, and expression, but they aren't supposed to be bullied, especially from teachers. Yun lang kasi yung sakop ng Anti-Bullying Act, teacher to students. At kung peer-to-peer naman, madalas ay limited lang siya. So in short, may mga batas kahit papano, totoo yung sinasabi lang, may mga batas naman keme-keme, pero at the same time, it's not completely true. Kasi we are not protected on the basis of SOGIE pagdating sa discrimination. Sa workplace, sa employment, sa schools, etc. Ano yung second question ulit?
Yung about po sa passing of anti-discrimination ordinances within local government units. Why aren't local government units passing such?
All right.
Well,
Magtanong ko din yan, why aren't they passing local anti-discrimination ordinances? It's the ideal thing to do, no? So in short, it's also political for them. Sometimes the local chief executives or the mayors are afraid na baka yung constituents nila are baka anti-LGBT, parang ganon. O kaya sometimes naman they themselves are anti-LGBT. But we are lucky because habang inaantay natin yung passage ng SOGIE Equality Bill, there are LGUs who are supportive of us. No, QC, Manila, ko-correct ko lang yung sa Marikina, wala pa po tayong anti-discrimination ordinance doon, sadly, dahil naharang po siya ng mga kalaban. Char. Nag-share. Tapos, right now, I think nasa 24% ng population ng Pilipinas ang protected ng anti-discrimination ordinances thanks to the new addition of Zamboanga City and Manila.
Ayan, thank you. So, ang next naman natin ay si J.A. Castro. J.A. Last call for J.A. If not, babasahin ko na yung question niya. Ayan. So, Vince, sabi ni J.A., in what ways can we contribute to help the ratification of ADB?
Okay. Well, nabanggit ko na siya sa talk kanina, no. Wala pong small acts pagdating sa equality. I want you to remember this. There's no act too small for gender equality. Yung mga pagkakausap natin sa mga family members are as important. The same way na when we lobby to legislators, including, maganda yung nabanggit kanina ni Enzo, na sa local government level, pwede po tayong mag-lobby sa ating mga mayors. If you want, you could also email us at pantaypilipinas@gmail.com, although kasi nangangailangan din kami ng tulong. We're currently a member of Lagablab LGBT Network. Ito po ay hindi yung isang tatakbong party list, char, but this is the lobby group that was established since 1999 to lobby for the passage of the bill. Pwede po tayong mag-organize ng mga ganitong education or awareness raising seminars also kasi I'm sure means marami pa rin tao talaga ang gustong makaalam kung ano ang SOGIE, 'di ba? Hindi necessarily anti-discrimination bill. We want to mainstream the idea of SOGIE. And the core message of SOGIE is, and I hope you understand this also sa nasabi ni Tita Thais kanina, lahat tayo ay magkakaiba pagdating sa kung paano tayo magmahal, kung paano tayo manamit, o kung paano natin kilalanin ang ating sarili. But at the end of the day, we are all equal.
All right, thank you so much for that, JA. Now, next, we have Isan. Isan, nandyan ka ba? Pa-unmute naman.
Hi, good evening. Actually, nasagot na kanina kasi yung question ko rin na will the anti-discrimination bill pave the way for same-sex marriage because it's very discriminatory for anyone who is prohibited to choose their own partner. Pero kasi 'di ba sabi nyo, yung ADB focuses on the SOGIE equality bill o yung sa social yung sexual identity only, hindi yung option or choice niya to uh, choose their own partner. So actually kanina nasagot na siya.
Sige, salamat. Dadagdagan ko na lang. Yung how we could choose our partners regardless pa kasi yung marriage equality ay pagdating sa kasal ay sakop ng ng SOGIE equality bill. But sa US halimbawa, magandang example yung sa US. Nauna nilang ipinasa ang marriage equality kaysa sa Equality Act nila ngayon o yung SOGIE Equality Act nila ngayon. Ang nangyari, kahit nakakapagpakasal ang mga LGBT, nadi-discriminate pa rin sila. And this is what we identified in the previous years for advocates to lobby the SOGIE Equality Bill primarily, because we want to lay the foundations for more progressive laws like the marriage equality law, like gender recognition law, like the anti-hate crime law, like divorce, at napakarami pang iba. Actually, secret na lang natin yun. Baka malaman ng mga kalaban, haragin nila lahat. Char!
Ayan. So, thank you so much, Ethan. Next question would come from Bon Jolo. Bon, are you there?
Yes. So, yung tanong ko po is, napansin ko lang po kapag nagbabasa ako sa mga comments sa social media about SOGIE, tsaka kapag nakikipag-usap ako sa mga friends ko, gusto nila ng protection for LGBT people pero against pa rin sila sa SOGIE bill. Kasi para sa kanila, may yung discrimination na nararanasan din through age, race, language, features, etc. Instead, they endorse the comprehensive anti-discrimination bill. What do you think of the CADB po? Or is it just another tactic of the people to delay the passage of the SOGIE equality bill?
Ay, unang-una, bakit ka nagbabasa ng comments that are hurtful? Hayaan natin sila. Charot. Siguro to answer that question, napakaganda ng point na there's a recent study by the Pew Research Center on the global homosexuality divide that says 73% of Filipinos agreed with the statement that homosexuality should be accepted by society. So, 7 out of 10 people nagsasabi na tanggapin na natin ang mga bakla, 'di ba? That's in 2019. However, when we reviewed the previous global homosexuality divide, in 2013, same number. As in, nagulat din kami. 73% din ng Filipinos ang nag-agree. So, while it's relatively high compared to our neighboring countries, walang nagbago in a span of 6 years. 7 out of 10 pa rin ng mga Pilipino ang nag-agree with the homosexuality should be accepted by society. Pangalawa, maganda yung na-point out na hindi lahat sila ay naiintindihan ang proseso or ang kahalagahan ng isang batas. Na parang sinasabi nila na, tanggap ko naman si ganito, marami akong friends na mga bakla, pero wag na nating ibigay yung batas sa kanila. No? So, yun po, kailangan po natin silang sabihan. Sabihan talaga. Kailangan po natin silang kausapin, no, na hindi acceptance yung magkakaroon ka lang ng baklang kaibigan. Hindi kami mga trophy o kaya mga token of your pagiging ally, di ba? Parang kahit si Judith, charot. Si Ate Judith nga, di ba? Marami raw siyang friend at siya raw ay ally. So if you are really concerned or if you are a true ally, you would help in the passage of such legislation, such institutionalized stuff, institutionalized things that would protect LGBT persons. Ay,
Ayan, thank you
pagdating
so
sa
much.
comprehensive, oo nga pala. Pagdating sa comprehensive anti-discrimination bill, nakwento ko po kanina, in the 15th Congress, totoo po, it was used as a strategy to delay. I have to, pero secret na lang natin to. Ilang tao ba yun na dito? 194. So yung 193 na nandyan. In the 15th Congress, it was used to delay the SOGIE Equality Bill or the Anti-Discrimination Bill. Tayo naman, in principle, wala tayong keme. As in, we want the Comprehensive Anti-Discrimination Bill to pass kasi napakaganda niyang batas. Imagine living in a world where everyone is protected from discrimination on the basis of their sex, SOGIE, religion, ethnicity, kulay ng balat, etc. No? So it's really ideal. But in terms of legislation, dun po nila sinisingit lagi yung religious freedom o kaya alam nyo ba sa Committee on Human Rights, itong comprehensive ADB na sinasabi nila, pagdating sa committee level, biglang nawala ang SOGIE. Kaya nagulat din kaming lahat. So it's really a political strategy for them. And they also submitted a religious freedom bill. Now, while we support it, di ba? Sana ganun na lang gawin nila. Sana mag-file na lang sila ng religious freedom bill at hindi nila i-delay ang SOGIE Equality Bill. Kasi these are all important legislation at hindi dapat sila pinagbabangga. So in short, ang mode po natin is to support the SOGIE Equality Bill / yung Anti-Discrimination Bill and let the comprehensive ADB run its course. We want to make sure na yung SOGIE ay nandun pa rin sa comprehensive ADB at hindi siya ginagamit bilang leverage, hindi siya hina-hijack at hina-hostage para lang sa political gains ng mga kalaban.
Ayan. Thank you so much again, Bon, for that wonderful question. Now, next we have it would be Salvador Junior Ballesteros.
Hello po. Okay. Ayun. So, my question will be, kasi dalawa yun pero I would choose na lang doon sa parang mas may bearing sa akin. Sa mga taong part ng community na nang out at mga in-out, although this is a bill for na anti-discrimination, does it cover things like that?
Yes, it does. Meron po tayong provisions na binabawalan ang pag-out without consent. Pwede siyang pumasok doon sa profiling, pwede rin siyang pumasok doon sa iba pang other analogous acts. Because we recognize na ang coming out is right of a person. Ito po yung provisions na nakalagay on perceived SOGIE ay at hindi actual, no? Actual or perceived SOGIE ay pasok doon sa SOGIE Equality Bill. Kapag ang person halimbawa, kapag ako ay in-out ni Mav halimbawa, sinabi niya, uy, si Vitz, alam mo ba, bakla yan? Kahit na naka-hoop earrings na ako, etc. Pag sinabi ko, oy, straight ako, tayo na mo, tayo na mo. Pag sinabi ko straight ako, at na-deny ako ng opportunities, especially, o kaya na-out sa families, ganyan, kasi kasi balaj si Mav, ganyan, masama siyang tao. I can actually file a complaint pagdating dito, especially kung it endangered my safety. No? Kasi kaya naman pinagbabawal yung mga ganito rin kasi we are very vulnerable to targeted harassment. Yun po yun. We are very vulnerable to targeted harassment na kapag ang isang tao ay LGBT, sila ay mas madalas pang madidiscriminate. Ito rin yung reason bakit ayaw natin ng LGBT CRs, no? Kahit kasi sinasabi nila, okay lang yan, meron naman kayong designated CR. Una, it's exclusion. Pangalawa, it's prone to targeted harassment and profiling.
Yeah, thank you so much, Bads. For our
Thank
next
you.
question, Hans. Nandyan ka ba, Hans? Ayan, so babasahin ko na lang. Vince, in your own point of view, why does discrimination exist in the community? So, within the LGBTQIA community.
Thank you for that wonderful question. In my opinion, dahil hindi sila mahal ng mama nila. Charot. Discrimination exists kasi it's a system, no? Kumbaga, yung patriarchal system natin, na tinuturuan tayo na mag-hate sa anything feminine, sa pagiging bakla at sa pagiging babae ay bahagi na ng kultura. At napakahirap niyang labanan pero we need to because we want to make the world a better place or make the universe rather a better place. And I thank you.
I love it.
Kami sa baba.
Alright, thank you so much. Next, we have Howie. Howie, are you there?
Yes po, hello po. My question po kasi, since it was mentioned po earlier that there is a university po that prohibits students.
Where? Ayaw pang banggitin?
Yun nga po, since I'm from that university, and it's okay po. And for the past, let's say 2 years, since this year was really on an online class, for the past 2 years, the different college student councils are advocating and trying their best to advocate for SOGIE equality. However, I don't think it has come to a point na student councils have implemented projects that really advocates SOGIE equality, and if ever there is, nagiging passive lang siya sa students. So my question po is, what could you advise po for student councils to think of an idea or a concept na may implement nila, such as projects or events, na hindi siya magiging passive, and
Yeah.
which could be a good start, especially in that school. Ayun po.
Oo nga, may kwento ko. Kailan ba ako naging punong babaylan? I think that's 2017. When I was punong babaylan, I think yun yung mga simula na, well, hindi naman simula, pero that was an active phase also in UST. May mga organizations na binuo at mga existing organizations na nag-organize ng mga SOGIE trainings. Alam niyo, nasubukan ko mag-SOGIE education training sa UST at may nakatayong pari sa dulo. Ganong levels, no? So, nagchichika ako ng mga kabaklaan levels tapos may pari na nakatingin lang doon sa likod. So, hindi ko alam kung anong trip nung pare, kung bet niya ba ako or charot, kung gusto niya lang bang bantayan yung training na ginagawa namin. But I think and I hope they realize na we're not against religious freedom. We just want people to embrace who they are and be their truest selves and embrace their fullest potential, parang ganon. Yung good news ay and here's the good news, with the Manila Anti-Discrimination Ordinance passing, kasama ang UST doon. So we can challenge the University of Santo Tomas kung meron silang discriminatory practice against their own students. Dati po nahihirapan kami as in super suffer levels kasi ang sakop lang ng protected na students ay DepEd ay yung Child Protection Policy. So basic ed lang siya. Pero pagdating sa UST, lagi nilang ini-invoke yung academic freedom. And I think this is also an opportunity for me to discuss yung SOGIE daw ay anti-academic freedom. No, hindi po academic freedom ang mag-discriminate. hindi right ang pagdi-discriminate ng isang tao. Ang academic freedom lang is ideally universities with the help of their educators can freely express yung kanilang pagtuturo, kung style ng pagtuturo. Pero hindi dapat sila nagdi-discriminate ng tao because education is a right. And I hope they are reminded of their task, their responsibility as educational institutions to teach people, to educate young people.
Thank you po.
Ayan, thank you so much. For our next question, si Jay Ohana. Jay?
Hello po, good evening po. So, itong question ko po kasi usually concerned siya ng mga friends ko na may mga partner or like live-in partners. So the question is, kasama po ba sa SOGIE Equality Bill yung like for example, and it's not limited to enrolling their queer partners, for example, sa health insurances or separate po siya, like nandun siya sa Marriage Equality Bill?
Sorry pa ulit po.
Ang kasali po ba sa SOGIE Equality Bill, yung for example, na letting the queer people to actually enroll their queer partners sa, for example, health insurances nila, or separate po siya if nandun siya sa Marriage Equality Bill?
Okay, ito po ay actually pagdating sa insurance policy, there are actually developments na pagdating sa Insurance Commission, no, na meron na po tayong mga kasama na kinakausap ng Insurance Commission with the help also of the Philippine Financial Inter-Industry Pride or yung PFIP at yung Philippine LGBT Chamber of Commerce. Yung mga LGBT groups in the private industries are talking with them na maging mas inclusive, especially in the BPO industry. May mga nag-o-open na po ng ganitong opportunities. Na kapag ang iyong partner ay kapag ikaw ay LGBT, you can still include your partner, pero may mga forms ka lang na kailangan sagutan. However, pagdating para rin nga siyang usapin ng marriage kasi if a policy if an insurance policy would state there explicitly na kailangan married or na kailangan ay you are married with another person, hindi po nun masasakop. At the same time, the SOGIE Equality Bill can introduce this idea or can open up opportunities to discuss this idea. Sabi ko nga kanina, this lays the foundation. So, yes and no. Yes, meaning since there are already existing efforts, pwede po siyang i-cover ng SOGIE Equality Bill. No? Ibig sabihin kapag ang isang private institution meron siyang ganong diversity and inclusion policy tapos hindi niya sinunod, pwede siyang ma-reprimand. At the same time, it encourages also government agencies to open yung kanilang isip sa partnership or yung sa relationships ng mga LGBT persons. But also no kasi hindi natin pwedeng baguhin yung mga forms na may kasamang married status. Ganun.
Thank you po.
Well, what we can do, idadagdag ko na lang, what we can do of course is to lobby sa ating mga workplace, especially kung kayo ay nasa private o kaya naman pwede rin nasa public, to lobby for diversity and inclusion policies. You can invoke yung Executive Order 100 or yung Diversity and Inclusion Order signed by the President. Hindi pa siya ganun ka-powerful, pero pwede na. Sure.
Alright, thank you so much. Next we have would be LSS Frost. So Frost, andyan ka ba?
Hi, hello po.
Hello, ayan. Hello.
Sorry po.
Go,
Ayan,
Frost.
tinatype pa yata niya.
Or basahin na ba namin for you?
Sorry, send ko lang po yung question ko.
Gusto mo babasahin na lang namin?
Sige po, pakibasa na lang po. Thank you.
Go, Mama V.
So the question po, servants would be, what if the person in question refuses to be educated and refuses to listen or open up the talk of LGBTQIA+.
Okay. Well, we can't force them. Ito yung gusto ko lang mag-back to reality tayo. Sometimes we really can't force them. We can only do, our expression and education can only do so much. But history will look down on those who have turned their backs against the LGBT community. The same way that we denounce bigotry, the same way that we denounce racism, the same way that we denounce yung elitism against poor people, I think history will judge them personally. So we can only do as much. But I hope you still do the educating part. At baka lang malagpasan natin tong good question. Okay lang ba? Basahin ko siya from Cat CP. Ano raw ang masasabi sa mga arguments against the SOGIE Equality Bill na hindi na raw magiging safe ang mga babae at lalaki kapag kahit trans woman daw na quote-unquote lalaki ay pwede na makapasok sa toilet nila. No? For everyone's information, ginagamit po ito to sow fear. Sinasabi na may mga lalaki daw na magsasabi na trans woman sila at papasok sa CR at manghaharas at mangva-violate ng mga babae. For the record, how do we respond? For the record, una po, ang SOGIE Equality Bill is beyond the CR issue. Pero hindi natin kasi may iwasan kasi lagi siyang binabato sa atin. Pangalawa, men don't really need to dress up as women just to harass. We have a lot of cases of sexual harassment all around the world, and people and men don't wear dresses to harass. Hinaharas nila tayo sa public spaces, hinaharas nila tayo sa mga opisina, at hindi nila kailangan magdamit pambabae para lang makapangharas. Secondly, there are already gender-inclusive comfort rooms in the Philippines, particularly in universities like the Ateneo de Davao University, in UP, in UP Diliman, among many others. And there are zero cases of harassment, zero cases of sexual harassment against women doon sa mga gender-inclusive CRs. In fact, it help promote yung acceptance and inclusivity doon sa areas na yun.
Ayan. Thank you so much. And for our next question, si Gigi MJ.
Hello po, good evening.
Yes, go
I think
ahead.
my question po was answered na po a while ago.
Okay. Sige. Thank you, Gigi. Next na
Thank
lang
you rin
natin
po.
si Ian Beticon at Ian Beticon.
Hello, good evening po. Siguro ang question ko, curious question lang, meron po kayang mga normalized behavior or acts from LGBT people that contribute dun sa mga maling mindset ng ibang tao about SOGIE?
Sorry po,
or if there is, may mga normalized behavior ba or acts from LGBT people that contributes dun sa maling mindset or knowledge ng SOGIE bill? Or if there is, ano po kaya yun and what can we do about it?
Okay, you mean social media apps, mobile apps, ganun ba?
Mga normalized behavior ng mga, like, di ba sa, I'm not sure kasi if this applies din dun sa community natin. And kasi parang di ba sa kunyari sa mga straight people, normalized behavior like guy talk, parang ganun.
Yung locker room talk.
May mga ganun kayang mga LGBT people that yung kasi people tends, kaya feeling ko kasi apart from the religious reasons, may mga experiences sila or mga na observe from LGBT people that you know parang nagko-contribute kung bakit in bill.
Okay. As much as possible, I don't want to be as academic here, no? Pero there's this interesting point by Michel Foucault, kay Kumaring Foucault, na nagsasabi na ang culture daw ng mga bakla is something that is transgressive and often politically incorrect. Stating it as a fact, I guess, no? Kasi they've been victimized enough by history and by a lot of oppression that they adapted that way. So andun ako sa point na minsan ang hirap sisihin ng mga historically oppressed, no? Kapag ito ay nagiging way for them to adapt. And sometimes kapag we've stayed in a privileged time, halimbawa may time tayo that we look down upon being gay, o yung halimbawa gay lingo, parang ay yak mga bakla. Admittedly I was thinking negatively dati sa mga gay lingo o saka sa mga bakla in general, no? So it's really difficult. It's really difficult to embrace or to unlearn these things kasi kasama natin sila growing up. But so I find it difficult answering the question kasi I don't see that gay lingo is wrong. I don't see that yung transgression o yung pagiging masyadong malamya, masyadong loud ng mga LGBT is wrong. But there are lines we want to draw. Ito ay yung kapag nakaka-oppress na siya ng isa pang marginalized person. No, kapag ine-FM shame halimbawa ang kapwa LGBT, internalized discrimination 'yon. Kapag sinasabing sis, masyado ka namang malambot, mga ganyan, o kaya masyado ka namang soft, o kaya no chubs, no FM, mga ganon. These are languages that are internally discriminatory and internally oppressive, especially within our community.
Ayan. Thank you so much. So, yun na yung last question natin. So again, guys, thank you so much for all of your questions. Grabe, sobrang na-amaze ako dun sa audience natin. They are throwing a lot of good questions tonight. So they are really listening and very interested to learn. And also, Vince, muli from PangPang OFC, maraming salamat sa iyo for sharing your knowledge with us with the SOGIE Equality Bill. Any last words for our audience?
Thank you sa inyong lahat. Lagi niyo sanang isipin na magaganda kayo. Maraming salamat at ingat.
Yay, yan. Thank you, Vince.
Ayan, Ninong. At muli nating pasalamatan ng ating mga sponsors because we are already at the end of our program or almost at the end of our program. So, maraming salamat sa J-Mart, Princess Status, AfterBake.PH, CelineTreatsPH, Tuk Chak, and also guys, don't forget to follow them on their social media pages which is flashed on your right now.
Ayan. And also, just a quick thank you as well for all of our partners. Metro Manila Pride, Pantay Pinas, Gaya Sa Payaso, Gegemons Official, Raegan Burnside Official, Ikay Portillo Official, BP.PH or Boys Love PHP, and also BL Frags. So, ayan, bago natin i-end ang ating webinar for tonight, mag-ano lang tayo ng raffle. So, for the raffle, we will be sending you an email. So to all the winners, we will be sending you an email. So makakatanggap po tayo ng email na kayo po ay nanalo ng isa sa mga prizes natin for tonight. So one of the prizes would be 4 winners of 500 GC from J-Mart.
So to stay in style, you will receive 2 we will be giving away 2 crew neck shirts from Princess Status.
And also, AfterBake.PH will be giving away 3 cookie boxes.
Alright. And lastly would be a 200 peso voucher from Tuk Chak.
Ayan. So muli sa mga winners, makakatanggap po tayo ng email kung paano po ninyo makiklaim ang inyong prizes. And I guess we have come to the end of our webinar. And before we officially close our webinar, we would like to call on for our closing remarks. PangPang OFC co-admin Micah May Cuevas.
Hi everyone! So, a pleasant and empowering evening to each and everyone na nandito ngayon sa webinar natin. First of all, before I start with my message, let me first acknowledge the people behind this webinar, the core and members of PangPang OFC, the external affairs, internal affairs, finance, logistics, and publicity team. Thank you for sharing your time and effort to make this little idea way back December 2020 into an awesome event. 2 down, more to go. May you all give yourselves a pat in the back after our program because I believe that it is indeed a job well done. To our partners, Metro Manila Pride, Pantay Pilipinas, Gaya Sa Payaso, Gegemons Official, Raegan Burnside Official, Ikay Portillo Official, BL Frogs, and Boys Love PH for believing in our vision. Thank you for being with us all throughout. May this not just be a one-time partnership, but a start of many more events to come. To our sponsors, Miss Selena Pangilinan of CelineTreatsPH, AfterBake.PH, Miss Raegan Burnside of Princess Status, Miss Jessica Portillo of J-Mart, and Tuk Chak for trusting our fan club and generously sharing your blessings to us. We hope for abundance and continuous success on your endeavors. The earliest version of SOGIE Equality Bill was filed in 2000 by the late Senator Miriam Defensor Santiago and former Akbayan Representative Loretta Rosales under the 11th Congress. After almost 21 years, we are still here, little by little making our steps towards our goal and hoping for the acceptance we are all longing for. I believe that delivering these closing remarks is such a huge responsibility because it is equally significant as what we learned from the talks earlier. This is the moving forward part. What are we going to do with the things we gained and acquired? I am certain that the things we realize from this webinar must be shared and heard by the individuals outside the Zoom meeting. We, the Pampang Official Fan Club, along with Ian and Paolo Pangilinan, aim to have this webinar not just to educate all of you, but also encourage you to pay it forward by being vocal in supporting the passage of the SOGIE bill. To further encourage you on this matter, let me introduce you one of the 2021 star to watch out for, the other half of PangPang, actor, model, and a proud member of the LGBTQIA plus community, Mr. Paolo Victor Pangilinan.
And Vince, to the organizers, PangPang OFC, and to our equally esteemed guests. To our esteemed speakers, Ms. Tice and Vince, to the organizers, PangPang OFC, and to our equally esteemed guests, a pleasant evening. I've been tasked the greatest honor of reflecting, synthesizing, and closing this webinar. I believe that one of the reasons why I've been chosen for this was because I am a member of the LGBTQIA plus community who is also visible. However, too many people have cried louder, done far greater, and have risked much more than I have to forward LGBTQIA plus rights. I have still much to learn, as many of you would also agree. But I know that it is no longer timely, but long overdue. Up to this day, the community faces workplace discrimination, violence, and murder. It is through initiatives like these that we are reminded to constantly fight for equality and justice. Today we are reminded that we are stronger together, and information, coupled with action, is one of our greatest weapons in the fight for many causes, from equal opportunities to suicide prevention. While writing this closing speech, I came across a very powerful quote by Audre Lorde. My silences had not protected me. Your silence will not protect you. It's helped me remember that I'm standing on the shoulders of people who gave their lives and had their lives taken away to live their truths, and for me to live mine. Today, I believe we are making a great step towards a better life of not the future only, but of the present. The cycle of hate stops with us. Thank you and good evening.
Ayan, at muli po, nagpapasalamat kami sa lahat ng partners and sponsors. This event wouldn't be possible without you. Again, maraming maraming salamat po.
Ayan. So, grabe, no? Sobrang pogi ni Pau dun sa video. And thank you so much, Pau Pangilinan, for that wonderful message. And of course, thank you as well for sharing with us your message to everyone. So again, thank you muli sa aming mga partners. Ayan, so naka-flash po sila sa screen. And lastly, guys, we would also like to inform everyone that we are currently doing a donation drive for our legendary queens na nasa Golden Gaze. So ayan po, naka-flash po sa screen right now. If you want to donate, the details are flashed on the screen. 'Di ba? Sabi nga ni Pau, let's not forget those people who paved the way para ma-experience natin yung mga karapatan na meron tayo ngayon. So again, if you guys want to donate, nandiyan po yung information sa ating screens.
Yes, that's right. And also, Ninong Mav, don't forget, or guys, don't forget to support us on our future projects. So, para makichika, you can follow us at PangPang OFC. And once again, this is Via, your loud and proud trans Pinay. You can follow me on my social media accounts at SuperVialicious on Twitter and at super_Vialicious sa Instagram.
Ayan, at ako naman po ang kokaero ng BL Frags mula sa aming fish pond. I am Mav. So you can follow me at Maverick, and please subscribe on our YouTube channel, BL Frags. So guys, from PangPang OFC, maraming salamat po and
good
night.